The Hagmann Hagmann Report for today. It is a terrific Tuesday edition. It's Tuesday, October 7th, 2014. I'm Doug Hagmann. In studio along with me is my son, fellow researcher and investigator Joe Hagmann. Together we are the Hagmann Hagmann Report. Folks, you're about to hear an incredible 3-hour program tonight. 3 hours of news and information analysis, the dissection of news like you've never heard it before. We go well beyond the headlines, the bylines, a fog of disinformation, misinformation, and present the news to you in a 3D format. I want to thank everyone for checking in with us, also for visiting our website at hagmannandhagmann.com, filling out the filling out the contact form where it says contact us. Box will pop up there, and you can tell us where you're listening from. Jake, of course, Iowa City, and we've got Kelly from Pasadena. Hey, say hello to John over there, and many others. Just thank you. And also hearing from a lot of people, believe it or not, I don't know why it's hard to believe, but the UK, Australia, New Zealand. I mean, my goodness, this is just an incredibly fast-paced show. Now, portions of tonight's broadcast actually is brought to you by a brand new sponsor of ours. I've got to tell you, this sponsor, I just love this sponsor. Guys, this is for you, okay? Harrys.com. Like the guy's name, Harry, with an apostrophe S, okay, but it's all, don't put the apostrophe in there. Harrys.com. You got to rethink what's on your sink. Harry's offers, really, in my view, the Bentley, the Rolls Royce of razors, shaving creams, and gels at affordable prices. Visit harrys.com, folks, for some incredible buys. Ladies, for your husband. I guarantee you got a guy in your life, he's got a birthday coming up, or for Christmas, man, the product that Harry's puts out is just second to none. I just wanted to mention that before we got into the show. For new listeners, by the way, 8 to 11 p.m. Eastern, you can find us on the internet at hagmannandhagmann.com. I'm sorry, hagmannandhagmann.com. And we're also simulcast by the Christians United Broadcasting Network. You can tune us in there at the hagmannandhagmannreport.com. I'll be updating, too, a lot of the SoundCloud episodes. I haven't done that in a while. I want to make sure those who listen by SoundCloud via SoundCloud, I'll be doing that here shortly. But thanks for joining us, and thanks for your belief and your trust in us as we walk through this minefield of current events together. I got to tell you, it's really, Joe. It's first of all, it's great to be here, and it's great to be able to look at the news, the information that we're seeing unfold. It's exciting and it's disturbing at the same time, and we've got the next hour. Stan Deyo, by the way, will be joining us at the top of the next hour. But everything we're seeing take place is really both exciting and a little bit frightening, isn't it? I mean, it's 10 years ago. If you would have said, yeah, unsettling.
Unsettling. There we go.
There you go. Yeah. I saw you digging for that mute button there. That's okay. Yeah, indeed. Especially when you think of this. And I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know how many of you have heard of this, about this. The DEA, and this really boils me, the DEA claims the right to post a Facebook profile of a real woman, okay? You would think, seriously, you'd think that I would be crazy if I said it was okay to steal a young woman's identity, start a fictitious, or a false, I shouldn't say fictitious, just a false Facebook page in her name, and then post her racy photos that were taken from her smartphone.
So they took an actual person.
Yes, an actual
with
person.
Their name and their photos, created an account.
Now think about this. The DEA stole photos from this young lady's smartphone. They used those photos, posted them to Facebook in her name, and took her identity. I mean, used her identity to start a false Facebook page. Now, whether you think it's crazy or not, unlawful or not, the U.S. Justice Department is saying that a DEA agent who did exactly that had every right to do so. In a little-known court filing, the Justice Department is claiming that the federal agent, and the federal agency had the right to impersonate a young woman by secretly creating a bogus Facebook account or page, in her name and likeness without her even having a clue. In fact, government attorneys are even defending the agent's right to scour the woman's smartphone and then post her personal photos. Now, this Kim Commando has this on her website. I'm not sure where else if this is anywhere else, but Kim Commando, K-I-M. Well, if you go to commando.com, K-O-M-A-N-D-O, she has a radio show. She is a host of a computer radio show, talk show. But the special agent included some pretty racy images on the fake profile as well. One photo showed her on the hood of a BMW with her legs spread, and in another she wore only very skimpy attire. Just by looking at it, looks like it's could be underwear, could be a bikini, I don't know. But as if that was not enough, there was even an image of her son and her niece that they posted. Now here's the justification. Sandra Arquette went by Sandra Prince at the time that these events took place. She first learned her identity had been used in 2010 when a friend asked her about some pictures she had posted online. She was completely confused, saying, "Wait a minute, I don't have anything. I don't even have a Facebook page." Well, at least she thought she didn't. But there was the account and her name complete with her personal photos right there when she checked. It was set up by a U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration Special Agent Timothy Sinigan. That's his name. He explained that the forged social media account was used to communicate with suspected criminals. Now, just think about this. The suspected criminals, his actions have been fully backed by the DEA and by the U.S. Justice Department. So, look, I'm all in favor of catching criminals, but there's more to what led to Special Agent Stinigan's idea for a fake Facebook profile. Shortly before the DEA agent made the Facebook fake page, officers arrested this woman, alleging she was part of a drug ring. Now, again, these are all allegations, unproven in court. Be like, and folks, I mean, this happens frequently. I've seen it happen. A judge recognized that she was a bit player, small fry, if you will, who accepted responsibility and sentenced her to probation. While she awaited trial, the special agent created a fake Facebook page with her real name and private photos that he took from her smartphone. Again, all of this happened without the suspect's knowledge. Now, in the aftermath, the Justice Department referred all questions to the DEA, who then referred all inquiries to the local U.S. Attorney's Office in Albany, New York, the Communist Commonwealth of Albany, or of New York. Communist State of New York, I should say, not Commonwealth. There's been no response to multiple interview requests. Facebook also had no comment. So, right away that tells me, yeah, Facebook probably, if not, almost certainly knew about this.
Now, when we were working as investigators, investigating insurance fraud claims, I created a alternate Facebook account with a false name and used a picture of, I think it was some New York City skyline picture I took. And it was just solely for the purposes of gathering any information that was, put out there by people that we were investigating. And
right.
They have policies, and I never. It's been so long, I don't even know if the account's still there, but they have policies against, these creating. I know they have policies against creating, more than one account or having false accounts. So to let law enforcement do this, not only in a way that is fraudulent, but committing identity theft while doing so, that's very alarming. And to what was the purpose?
Well, the ostensible, alleged purpose was to catch the bigger fish in this sea of suspected criminals. Again, this woman was arrested or charged, but not convicted of any crime. So the constitutional aspect of her innocence rules the day. All right, and even if, based on everything I looked into this a little bit more today, because this caught my interest. If the DEA can do this, obviously, look, anyone on Facebook can we have Facebook accounts. Let me just say this: Joe and I have Facebook accounts, and I'm a public figure on Facebook. I don't have a personal Facebook account.
Right. Our Facebook account are used specifically for the show and for promoting the show and information about the show.
And we recognize it's almost as if, and I know Steve Quayle talks about this, get off Facebook, and I tend to agree with that to a large extent, because the people who are on Facebook or whatever other social networking type of what other social network is there? I don't know, but those people,
Twitter, there's a few
and we're on Twitter too.
Yeah, LinkedIn. I don't know if MySpace is still open.
That was the other one I was trying to think of.
And then there's all these other different ones popping up with different, what would you call them, themes. You have dating social media sites. I think Alex Jones created a social media type site for information. So there's like a demand or a market now of social media sites that are issue-driven or, like with Facebook, that are just general.
And I understand that. Now, we do have, as you mentioned, that we had that Facebook account, and I'm not going to repeat what you said, but the fact of the matter is, from an investigative point of view,
creating that Facebook account, I didn't friend anybody with that account, and only accessed information that people let the public access. There's security settings on Facebook where you can let just friends see what you post, friends of friends.
And that's your story, and you're sticking to it, right?
I'm not. I couldn't hack my way out of a paper bag. So.
Well, I can tell you this: having if you know what you're doing and you are active on Facebook, it gives you some unique abilities, and I'm not going to go any further than that. Just trust me when I tell you that it does. It gives you some unique abilities. But as far as I'm concerned, me personally, the feds already have whatever facial recognition on me and voice analysis and recognition, and so I'm kind of a done deal, right? And you're gonna hit that button.
The voice recognition. See, I got my old Canon headphones bit the dust last week, and I went and got a new headset, and I got the same one that my dad has had for a little while. And now I am starting to repeat his trend of not unmuting myself before talking.
It's actually kind of a tricky little bit of maneuvering you've got to do.
Yeah, that button pressing is quite complicated.
Yeah. Well,
it's like writing code for software, I bet.
But anyway, folks, I just want to warn everyone that I mean, data collection is being done on a minute by minute, nanosecond, if you will, basis, and we're all part of it. I just want to let you know that if you do maintain a Facebook page, and that's your business, if you do maintain a Facebook page, make sure you strip all the metadata out of the photographs you take.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the time, the date, the location in most cases now. And
that's right.
If you just right click on a lot of photos and you find the properties option, you can get a lot of information, the metadata information there.
And we've, as investigators, we have used that metadata to put people in certain cities in certain days, certain times, and
the people made it easier who would travel, who would tag themselves every time they got to a new city.
Right.
That was always a lot easier.
Yeah,
I don't understand that. You're on Facebook, and you are letting the world or the people that are in your group of friends know. Yeah, I'm out of town right now. How many people know if you have anything valuable in your house? Well, when would be a great time to go break into your house? Burglars can sit there and watch people post about how they're on vacation, or got to go to work today from 8 to 5, and then after that I'm going to the gym from 6 to 7. I mean, there is so much information that people willingly put out there that is harmful to them if they had people who were looking to take advantage of, them through the information they put out. And
exactly.
It is unbelievable to me, and somebody said it best I was talking to privately the other day. I said, it's amazing how much information you can get from people just by, not really saying much. By listening, people tend to ramble and will, say a lot of things. You can get into a conversation with a stranger, and as an investigator, somebody you're investigating, ask a few general questions and get a conversation going, and then shut up, and people will talk. I mean, people like to talk.
Well, this is before your time, Joe. When I just to prove myself, and I wanted to do the best job I could. This is just one example of greed and avarice. This is pre-social networking. Now, this is when you actually had to, do the burn the shoe leather out there. There was a huge fraud case that I was working, and when I say fraud case, I'm talking well over $1 million, and we were dealing with a trucker and a trucking company, and I'm not going to get into what he was shipping and how he, but the the feds were looking. They wanted to get a warrant for his tax records, and it was going to be a while. I mean, it would be a few days, if not a week. And I kind of seem to remember kind of coming up, this being on a weekend or coming up to a weekend, and it was kind of a big deal to get the record. So I figured, what? Why not just ask? Why not just ask? And so I went to this gentleman's house. Now, again, he ultimately did go to jail, not for tax. Nothing had to do with taxes, but everything had to do with a large fraud situation. But I went in, and just by talking with him, and he even gave me a glass of iced tea. I pretended I was a college student, adult in adult college, and I had this elaborate story cooked up. But now, right, wrong, or indifferent, if you're sitting there in judgment of me, okay, for lying and for being deceitful, yeah, I was all of that, and I did that. It's called undercover work, I suppose. But I actually talked him out of his 2 years worth of his tax returns, copies of them, for the potential of him getting tires for a rig. And it was just a matter of greed, okay? So, the reason I bring that up is because even today there are people out there who will fall for. I mean, if they think they can get something for nothing, they will, and they'll take advantage of the system, and they'll take advantage of you. If you've got a Facebook account, or if you've got images you uploaded, look, folks, it's so easy to get something to compromise any one of us, and of course we don't do anything. It's being innocent, we'll say, of any criminal activity, and we're actually making it a lot easier for this criminal government apparatus to. We're giving them the information willingly, and rather stupidly, I might say. So, in a lot of what Steve says is absolutely correct.
You see, the extent of the NSA spy surveillance grid network that they have set up, basically through the cell phones, through computers, even any real electronics in your house, from the smart meters, monitoring your power usage. The level of surveillance that they do on regular Americans, and 3D 4D mapping through your phones, smartphones, and being able to locate you. It is amazing to me that, and when Facebook first started, I can just see these people sitting in a room thinking, all right, we have the ability to basically spy on anybody we want 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But how can we get them to voluntarily give up information, even to the furthest extent? What's on their mind? What are they thinking? What are they caring about? So they set up Facebook here. And you have people, they did it under the guise of connecting to, with old friends, to in real time being able to talk from people from, country to country, all the good reasons you'd set something like this up. But none of that, that on their pros and cons list. Their pros list is, people willingly giving up information that might just be in their mind, thoughts, the level of evil that the controllers go through in their mind when they set this up is completely different to the way we think. And, when Facebook first came out, it didn't even cross my mind to think, well, I shouldn't join this because it's a way for me, to give up information on myself that nobody else would know unless I post it. But that's what these people did. They got something, they set this up, made it popular, made it quote-unquote cool and trendy, and many people started making profiles. It got very popular very fast. Now it is a weapon being used against the people, and the people that it's being used against still use it. Still post it. If you're on Facebook
knowingly.
For the only reason that I would say to be on Facebook, aside from maybe talking to old people in your life, if they're good people worth reconnecting with, is to gather information, to see what's going on in other places, but never put anything personal information out there. You put your name maybe, your age if you want to, but they put they want your occupation, what city you live in, what street you live on, what dry cleaner you go to, your favorite movies, songs. Then they have the friends list where they want you to distinguish between good friends or acquaintances and family. It gets to a point where they want way too much information.
Yeah, it's really it's gotten out of hand, and I'm in total agreement with Steve in terms of of staying off or not, at least not posting any type of personal information, because this will come back. You're just giving this to the government, and all of this can be used against you. I've seen it done, and just at the baby or at the initial part of the social networking, I've seen it done. I've seen Facebook postings used in court.
What we haven't seen yet, and we will see, is them manipulating things, or not only manipulating, manufacturing evidence against you, us, through this social media, saying, they can hack into your account and post something and make it look like you said something that you didn't. There's going to be a time where they're going to make people, how we see them dividing people through racial issues, political issues, religious belief issues. They're going to pit people against each other. We have infighting going on now with, different people. Well, they're going to create a environment where they will create false evidence, and since they have your voice recognition and everyone's voice recognition, with that they can create write out a few sentences of you saying of something being said that's nasty or negative about someone else, and put your voice to those text words and make it sound like you actually said it.
Yeah, folks, and I wonder how much
I hope
Joe
that made sense.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
They will do that. I was told that this will come at some point in time.
And I wonder how much of that is being done now. And ladies and gentlemen, for example, you could take one of our programs and edit out, of course, after you edit out my stammers, but if you edit it together, I mean, you could have me saying some pretty crazy stuff, or Joe, or any one of our guests, and I'm sure it's being done.
Right. I mean, and then you go from there to see that if they did say they put something out there, a soundbite of you or me or us saying something we didn't say, putting a sound compilation together that made it sound like we were threatening to kill someone or do something horrible. How would you refute that? You'd have to go find all of the sound bites that they used, or it would be basically impossible. But
right.
It is out there, and it'll probably happen. They will probably, anybody who has any type of influence or a voice, respected voice, will be marginalized as we are now, and we see that the marginalization isn't working like it used to be, as people are becoming more knowledgeable and understanding of the levels of evil and manipulation that these people go through. They're going to have to step up their game, just like terrorist attacks. People expect, I think V talked about it last night, how, they think we need another terrorist attack because the rah-rah Americanism after 9/11 has dwindled away. But one thing that I didn't jump in, and I should have when he said that, is they can't pull off another big deception like that right now. The people are too aware. Too many people are watching. With every event from Sandy Hook to the Boston bombings, the Aurora shootings, people have been dissected, and you were muted when you said that. I
disagree with you on that, on the record.
Go ahead. I mean, eventually they will be able to do it, and I think the next time they can do a big event like that, and we'll do it, is when they're ready for a change that it's not going to matter if there's people dissecting what they say, or the people won't have the ability to dissect the false flag because it will be that big and bad of an event. But, I don't know what the point was when we were talking about the lady with the identity theft, Feds creating the fake Facebook page with her identity.
This is the reason I brought that up. I did not want to make this clear, is because if you've got a court right now that's ruling, or that says, hey, or a judge that said this is okay to do this, that's why I brought this up, because everyone is at risk. Everyone is at risk for this.
Now, it's okay. They ruled it's okay for the Feds to do this, but to what extent? Was there condition? How can you?
No.
So this lady obviously didn't have a Facebook page before this.
That is correct. She was not on Facebook, and the DEA created a Facebook page out of whole cloth with her images taken from her smartphone that she did not authorize. Okay.
Now, I guess the question is then, would that pertain to people who already have accounts? Being able, because I'm sure they created the account, see who would, friend her, who's in her area, who would communicate. If it was some kind of...
Well, that's already been done.
Could people, does that give the federal government and the authorities the legal right to sign into my Facebook account and talk to my contacts as thinking or portraying themselves to be me? That was a question I wanted to ask.
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but I would presume, based on the judge's ruling, that even if someone did get caught doing that, even we'll say, I guess there's a chat feature or something with Facebook. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Okay, then I believe that.
So you don't know. You've used it before.
No, I've never used it.
Yeah.
And by the way, folks, I do have a Facebook page. I do not check messages, personal messages on Facebook. I just don't do that.
I don't really either.
I'll check the postings, but I'll go through email. The email's really the only way that I communicate.
I'm glad you said that, because we have a Hagmann Hagmann Facebook page, and I do check that. I don't check the messages there, but I hope anybody who's listening who does use Facebook, if you want to send a message, post it on the Hagmann Hagmann page. We don't, like you said, or send it by email, because we don't check the messages that are on there, and there's hundreds or thousands of unread messages, from month to month. We have a hard time checking our email and keeping up with that, let alone the Facebook messages. So if you can remember, try not to send anything via Facebook if it's important and you want us to see it, because we probably won't.
And that's very good. Now, I did want to get that out of the way, because I think it's important for people to understand who are sharing their personal information on Facebook that this can and does happen. Ladies and gentlemen, did you happen to see, this is another issue that we didn't cover, and I wanted to make sure we did cover this. In the event that you missed the weekend news shows, FBI Director James Comey appeared on CBS News, or CBS's 60 Minutes. That was Sunday night. I don't know if you saw that or not, folks, but he stated that, and I'm going to quote this. I did note this quote here exact. The U.S. is preparing for an imminent terrorist attack, end quote. Now, he tied this threat of attack inside the U.S. or against the U.S. interests, any U.S. interests in the West, directly to terrorist forces in Syria. Now, think about this. Where were we 2 years ago? We were talking about, when I say we, I'm talking about the government, was talking about entering Syria, destabilizing Syria, helping the anti-Assad forces, the rebels, so to speak, in Syria. Now, once again, you've got to look at Syria. You can equate this as like, for example, Cuba during the 1960s, minus the missiles. Syria has military and economic importance to both Russia and China, particularly Russia. It's a proxy state of Russia, and we'll just kind of liken it to Cuba in the 60s during the Kennedy administration. Remember the CIA-backed invasion at the Bay of Pigs, where the ragtag group of rebels, yes, trained by the CIA, but remember those rebels going into the Bay of Pigs and just being captured, slaughtered, and really eradicated by the Cuban forces. Well, that's the way it would be today, or most likely be, in Syria. Now, Assad is not a nice guy. I understand that. I'm not sticking up for Assad. But look what happened in every Middle Eastern country that we've upended, from Egypt to Libya to wherever.
What? We've been spreading democracy and peace.
Exactly. Right. Well, let me tell you right now, and you're not going to see this on the news or read this anywhere, in my view, or that I've seen. There are upwards of 3 million. Now think about that. 3 million Syrian refugees. More than half are children.
4 million last time I saw. Over 4 million.
Well, I tend to think it's yes. I tend to think it's 4 million, but if as quoted in the Guardian of October 6th, the Guardian out of the UK put the number at 3 million, and more than half are children. And how many dead right now? Nearly 250,000 have perished. 250,000 people are dead in Syria. Think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Despite this abysmal fact and the staggering influx of human suffering, there's no outrage. What's going on here? We have the Obama-Clinton agenda. Okay, now back in 2012 and before Hillary left, it was a Clinton State Department. But if you think for one moment that the Clintons have gone away, their power in Washington have subsided, think again. They are certainly powerful, just as the Brzezinski would be, and then the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, all of these various non-governmental groups that have this hold, or this holdover. They're pulling the strings of the American government, Obama and Kerry and all of this. So they're giving them instructions as to what to do. Folks, this is what we're seeing. This is the result of this. Now we are not stopping. We, meaning the CIA, Obama, who's actually doing the work of the Saudis and the Qataris and others, as well as, they're using. It's the Saudis that are behind this. Really, it's a Saudi agenda, and this is what makes me angry too, Joe, at these at the mouthpieces and the posters and the columnists and others. This is what really angers me about talking about Obama's eligibility, because we've, again, in our capacity as investigators, we've done backgrounds for Fortune 100 companies. Now imagine somebody attempting to get on the board or assume directorship of a company, and we find out that they've got direct ties to a competitor or a large concern that is against what this company would want. This is what we have here. This is why the eligibility issue is so important, and the opportunity to stop the madness that we are seeing today was squandered by the very people on the right. And I blame the right. I blame the conservatives. I blame the people who say they're out for truth to say that this is a non-issue, because this is the issue. You've got millions dead right now because of the policies of and exportation of the policies of the Obama regime, the renegade in chief.
I would expand it further to the policies of the New World Order, stemming back to from Bush one. I've been talking about the Wolfowitz Doctrine, or PNAC, the Project for the New American Century, and not only that, also the agenda of the international bankers. As we looked at the list of 10 years ago, 13 years ago, the countries that did not have central banks, there were 7 of them: Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, North Korea. 5 out of those 7 since then have had central banks. And along with the central banks, they first had a government regime change brought to you by Uncle Sam, followed by an agreement into the international banking community.
No,
there's multiple
agree.
Agendas, multiple levels, and from the Clintons to Obama to the Bushes, they've been the people who carried it out and continue to carry it out. And as the Clintons are more behind the scenes now, they'll probably be back in the limelight here as the next presidential election comes up, and it is a guarantee that Hillary Clinton will probably get the Democratic nomination, I would guess, not based on the country sentiment, but on what the globalists want and their ability to manipulate the actual vote. So taking that into consideration, if Hillary's what they want, that's what they're going to have.
I totally agree. And, when we're looking at all of this from a bird's eye view, from a view from space, from a larger view, whenever, and Paul McGuire does a great job, and he's going to be our guest on Thursday, historically, whenever we reject God, and this is where I believe our program is separate from others. But because we look at things through the prism of biblical prophecy and scripture and what have you, so we look at what's taking place not just as a random set of events in this cosmic set of affairs, but we're looking at the hand of protection of God, the protection of the hand of God taken away from the United States, and I believe that we will see this. I wanted to mention, though, what Comey said, and put it in perspective of the fact that, I do see the possibility of a false flag type operation. When I say false flag, I mean, look, we know there is an Islamic threat here in the United States. We know that. There's no question about it. I'm not going to sit here and separate the radical Muslim versus the moderate versus whatever, because of if you would have more moderates speaking out against what's taking place worldwide if there was such a thing as this moderate Muslim. You've got practicing or non-practicing. You've got believers or non-believers in the Muslim faith. This is what I believe anyway. But having said all of that, yes, the Islamic threat is in fact real. And you go back to Albert Pike and Mazzini, the letters between the two, or the letter between the two, August 15th, I think, 1871. You can read Pike's vision for World War III and the manufactured crisis that will establish this satanic one world government. This is what we're seeing right now as the protection of God is being lifted. We are seeing, and we talked about this through a little bit earlier, but through things like Facebook and other technologies, in addition to just social networking, but other technologies, we see scientific mind control and technology creating this perfect arena for a global mind war, if you will. It's no accident that if you look at what's going on, that the dictators all across the Middle East, many of whom were former allies of the United States, were assassinated or overthrown, completely destroyed by so-called popular uprisings and people's revolutions. They weren't people's revolutions. They were CIA revolutions. They inspired revolutions and facilitated as well as Western intelligence. None of these were spontaneous social revolutions. They were products of a very highly scientific mind control and the implementation of social media like Facebook, going back to Facebook now.
Well, except
Twitter.
The one spontaneous protest of Benghazi.
Oh, of course, yeah. That was just completely random.
Panetta made a statement today where he said that he knew right away that it was a terror attack. Those headlines I saw on Drudge earlier today, and the statement he made, which there's a video on Real Clear Politics saying, he right away understood and knew what was happening, and the failure was on the Obama administration, as he tried to, do all he could to rectify the situation, and you got to listen to it. I mean.
Yeah, to me though, it's a little bit too late, too little, too late, and I don't believe. I think they're all co-conspirators in this. Co-conspirators, either having knowledge of.
Yeah, we could probably prove it to a large extent. That.
Yeah, I agree. Now, last night we talked about the global economic condition. Of course, if you look at the economic condition of Europe, and particularly Greece, and again, Paul McGuire talks about the Greece condition, the neo-Nazi Golden Dawn Party. Have you heard about this, or do you know folks about this Golden Dawn Party? Of course, we talked about it.
But when you mentioned Greece, in this IMF publication, which is titled "IMF Reform is Waiting on the United States" from March of 2014. It talks about the IMF governance concerns over the BRICS nations, and It gets into the monetary policy that will be used for the European Union crisis. This is what they call it, a European Union crisis. Their monetary policy will, in fact, be full of austerity measures, and they mention Greece and the impact it would have on the Greece, and also it talks about in here about the Ukraine. Now, when did the Ukraine crisis start? Do you remember when it really started getting in the news?
Boy, my mind just went blank.
I'm trying to think I think it was after the Florida conference, and that's when the Malaysian flight went missing. When we were in Florida, I believe it was after that. I could be wrong. I'm not sure.
Okay.
They mention you. The reason I say this is because they talk about Ukraine in here, and use it as an example of how the IMF as a organization gets the international cooperation, and what they do here is the IMF will deal with countries that are in financial trouble.
It was in April, by the way. You're right. It was in April.
So in this March document, they mention how Ukraine is in need of an IMF.
Well, the first people on the ground over there were IMF people.
Well, this is what the role of the IMF document says this. The power of the IMF becomes clear when a country gets into financial trouble and needs funds to make payments on loans. Before the IMF will grant a loan, it imposes conditions on a country, requiring it to make structural changes to its economy. These conditions are called the structural adjustment programs and are designed to increase money flow into the country. And it goes on to say that, not surprisingly, in view of the dominance of the G7, the IMF policymaking and the structural adjustment programs are highly neoliberal, the effective power of the IMF is larger than that associated with the size of the loans, because the private lenders often deem a country creditworthy based on actions of the IMF. But anyway, what it states is, through the World Bank and the IMF, these multilateral institutions, they have been able to almost coerce. It's like just imagine you get laid off your job, and your mortgage is due, and you have no money whatsoever, and you have your local neighborhood bookie or loan shark come and say, hey, you need money. Well, I can lend it to you, but at a price. And that's what the IMF is. Basically, they lend you money on a condition, and a condition where you're in need, as a country, you're in need of the money. So they supply that through their printing presses, which costs them nothing. In return, they get a level of authority or power over your nation, and there's nothing you can do about it. I mean, there is, but they don't as countries. And interestingly, I know we talked about this before, Dad, privately, and I think a little bit on the show, but do you know that the U.S. Treasury Secretary, is the IMF? Okay, in 2010, Jacob Lew, was the Secretary of the Treasury. He says, we were working with Congress to approve the 2010 IMF quota legislation, which would support its capacity to lend additional resources to Ukraine. Now, this is from the March document.
March of 2014, right?
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
Also helping to preserve U.S. leadership within its important institution, U.S. Treasury Secretary Department. Well, the Treasury Secretary of the Treasury, and I have to find in G. Edward Griffin's book here that he'll be on Saturday, The Fearful Master, that talks about the UN, and it gets into the IMF. Talks about this too, and there was a Treasury Secretary in the 50s, I believe, 50s or 60s, that resigned. And it happened because it came to the public that the U.S. Treasury Secretary is an IMF employee, and their salary comes from the IMF, not from the United States government.
Although it could come through the United States government, but originate through the IMF. In other words, I don't think that needs any further explanation. So think about this, because this is relevant to this discussion as well. All of this is relevant. And we're looking at the bigger picture here of events that are not normally talked about. Think about the Treasury seal that we see, whether it be on our money or whatever, the Treasury seal. Department of the Treasury. The actual creator, and I did not know this until I started doing the research or researching the works of Mark Flynn, who we had on our program, The Forbidden Secrets of the Labyrinth. No one really knows, or at least that's the story, the origins of the Treasury seal, the seal of the Department of the Treasury. At least that's what a lot of people maintain, but it's believed to be Francis Hopkinson. Now, this is the same person who contributed to the design of the Great Seal of the United States. The lambda chevron symbol with its 13 stars is representative of the triangle found in the head of the constellation Taurus. That's the abode of the daughters of Atlas, and was aligned with the Parthenon of Athena. Okay, the meaning of the symbols on the Department of the Treasury seal, deciphered, would be those who possess the key to the high mystical art of the manipulation of measure. Now, we know what the Bible and what Pastor Langford has said about the manipulation of measure and how God feels about this, obviously. Both the 32nd President of the United States and his Secretary of Agriculture, by the way, were Freemasons. And I mention this because Roosevelt, he was initiated into the Holland Lodge, and I'm going to point this out, in New York City back in 1911. Henry Agard Wallace was the 33rd Vice President of the United States, Roosevelt's Secretary of Agriculture, and the Secretary of Commerce. Now, why is all this important? By the way, he was in 1948. He was also Wallace was the nominee of the Progressive Party. But why is this important? Well, he was a mystic who attained the 32nd degree in Scottish Rite Freemasonry. This is the sublime prince of the royal secret, and sought guidance from various illuminated people of the time. Now, I know this sounds like we're jumping all over the place, but this does have a point, because if you look at this, go ahead.
Well, this is what I found here. And J. Edgar Hoover in 1945 testified before a Senate investigation committee on espionage in the White House. And there is Harry D. White. He was the Assistant Treasury Secretary. And he was mentioned in his espionage hearing, as well as Alger Hiss. And it says, after being sent to the San Francisco conference to represent the Treasury Department, White served as the chairman of the important committee that established the United Nations multi-billion-dollar International Monetary Fund. Only a few months after being thoroughly exposed as a secret agent, White was appointed to the post of Executive Secretary of the IMF, which he helped create with large injections of United States tax money. When he turned into his resignation into the Treasury Department to accept the new position, Truman sent him the following letter. I accept with regret your resignation as Assistant Secretary of the Treasury. My regret is lessened, however, in the knowledge that you have that to leave the Treasury, you will assume new duties for the government in the field of international economics as a U.S. Executive Director to the IMF. In that position, you will be able to carry forward the work you so aptly began at the Bretton Woods, and will have increased our opportunity for the exercise of the wide knowledge and expertise in a field that is of uttermost importance to the world peace and security we seek. I'm confident that in your new position you will add distinction to your already distinguished career with the Treasury.
All right. So apply this to today. Apply this to what you were talking about with the Ukraine, and we can take this if you want to take this. We can go all the way back to 1990 or 91. I believe it was 1991 when the Parliament of Ukraine, and people remember this after the fall of the Soviet Union, when they declared independence from the Soviet Union. There was that attempted coup in Moscow, and in a nationwide referendum it was late in 1991 sometime. There was a 90% vote for independence, and then the it was in 2004, and this I've got my notes on this now. In 2004 in Ukraine, the Orange Revolution began. This after reports of widespread vote rigging in the presidential election, and this is when Viktor Yanukovych was elected opposition candidate Viktor Yushchenko. Well, I'm sorry, in December, opposition candidate Viktor Yushchenko tops poll in election rerun. Rival candidate Viktor Yanukovych challenges result but resigns as prime minister. So this goes back to the 1991 and then 2004. And if you think about this, once again, if you look at this from a larger view and start connecting the puzzle pieces, what do we see here? We're talking about a number of different things, it's seemingly disparate things. But look at we can connect the Facebook issue with the social networking, with how everything had played out through the Arab Spring, including but not limited to as well the Ukrainian situation. Heading into more recent times with Ukraine, we can see where the IMF goes in. They're the first on the ground in Ukraine, and of course they were covered by who? By Western intelligence services. And what a mess. And you mentioned about the IMF and the history thereof.
Yeah, and getting into G. Edward Griffin's book, The Fearful Master. I mean, there's a lot of great information in here, and I'm going to just go on to talk about the United Nations just a little bit in the context of what you were talking about, what we're seeing, all these issues going on, all these different conflicts and unrest situations in different countries across the world for all types of different reasons. The UN, after being established, J. Edward Griffin writes about Animal Farm and George Orwell, and in the story, it's of a revolution staged by the animals on Farmer Jones's place. The animals considered themselves workers being exploited by non-productive human capitalists. So, Animal Farm, it goes on to, and the reason he mentioned Animal Farm is because talking about the UN and the UN principles, to form and the principles that are the base of the New World Order, goes on to say that they're designed to protect animals from any future injustice, infringements on their rights. And when we look at the definitions of the United States, we know the United States is a corporation. They do consider, and we've seen this terminology used in their laws, that human chattel or cattle, they consider us to be animals. And this goes along with what the Soviet Union communist system does, and the United Nations Declaration or the United Nations Charter. We are animals, and that's why they are saying, putting out these documents about the hierarchy of the new government one world system, where trees and plants and cats and dogs are equal to and have the same rights as humans. They created the Declaration of Rights for Mother Earth. They consider us all living things to be equal,
which connects to the eugenics and depopulation program, connects to the Georgia Guidestones, connects to there's nothing new under the sun here, just connecting the dots. We could talk about this at length, and perhaps we'll have a show on all of this, how all of these dots connect. I know it, once again, I know it sounds almost like a shotgun approach to a number of different topics, but they're all related. They all go back in history. Many, many, many years, centuries even. And this is really the basis for what we're seeing today. But before we bring Stan on and we hit the top of the hour break, I want to mention, I had mentioned at the start of our show, we have a new sponsor. What a great company. And I've got to tell you something. I don't endorse anything. I don't personally try. And I had ordered, okay. Got it. Thank you very much. Okay. I was just talking to Joe here. Live radio is the best, I've got to tell you. But anyway, I don't endorse anything that I don't try myself or use myself. And I had requested, actually, a sample or a product of Harry's. Now, folks, guys, I'm talking to you now. And wives, you think about this for your husbands or girlfriends for your boyfriends or whatever. I don't wear a beard, and I'm a guy I'm kind of a quirky guy, I suppose. But my wife calls me quirky because I will use a product, and if I like it, I use it all the time. I mean, it's phenomenal. To shave, I use now strictly Harry's razors, and I know this sounds probably so far out of left field. Why am I talking about this? Well, look, I like to look good. I like to feel good, and I have. One of the things I used to hate doing is, and Joe, when we were on the road, you know this. I used to hate to shave, but I got to tell you something. Harry's creates an entirely different experience, and I don't want to exaggerate. I don't want to seem like I'm overselling this. This is my personal experience. I used to go. You're muted, and
I just want to say I'm going to report on this. I'm going to use Harry's. I used several different types of razors over the years, the electric razors, the battery-operated 5-blade razors that vibrate to help get the stubble as short as possible, or, cut it as small. You get problems, you get razor burn on your face, cuts, and there's different problems with each different type of razor. So I'm interested and excited to use this and see how it works.
Well, and I was a little bit apprehensive, but I got to tell you, I looked into Harry's as a company. I looked into the plan that they have, and I tried their product. And here's the deal, for a lot of us, shaving is a pain. It really does. Frankly, for me, it used to suck. It was uncomfortable. It caused a lot of nicks. I had a lot of cuts and scrapes and razor burns, and the razor blades today, if you go out and try to buy razor blades today, they're outrageously expensive, especially for the replaceable ones.
Yeah.
Well,
and if I can speak to that,
yes,
5 razor blade refills, $30, something like that. I mean, it is ridiculous.
Exactly, and Harry's has got 5 blades. Now, I love this, and I love this razor. I love this experience, and again, you might think that this is an overselling, but it's not, because this is something I do every day, and sometimes if I'm out, especially in conferences, I do it twice a day, and not liking to do it, but yet wanting to look good. So Harry's, I began using Harry's about a month ago, and what a difference. I just can't tell you what the difference. Harry's was started by 2 guys who wanted a better product without paying an arm and a leg to get it. Harry's, they make their own blades. They liked the blades so much, the engineering of the blades. They purchased the German factory where the blades were made, are made. They're high quality, high performing German blades crafted by shaving experts. Yes, there are shaving experts, believe it or not. A better shave that respects your face, your wallet, no more poor quality blades, no more of these plastic junk type things. Their efficient business model allows for factory direct pricing. Now, I did my own pricing research on this, and you mentioned it, Joe. I'm going to tell you, you're out of town, you go to a drugstore, or go to a pharmacy or whatever, or even Walmart, and it's ridiculous what you pay. This is a fraction of drugstore cost. And I remember being in New York City one time, and I had to buy shaving cream and a razor. I forgot mine, and it was locked behind a plexiglass counter. So I had to grab somebody. I mean, it took me it was a big ordeal. It was stupid. But Harry's razors offer high quality shave that's better for your face and your wallet. It's about half the price of other big branded blades. And here's the great part about this. I order, they ship free right to my doorstep. Same thing for you. They'll ship for free right to your front door. The starter set is an amazing deal. For as little as $15, you get a razor, moisturizing shave cream, and 3 razor blades. So why pay $32 for an 8-pack of blades when it's half the price at Harry's? On average, an everyday shaver like me saves about $150 a year on blades using Harry's. Look, I'm a bargain shopper, but I like quality. I get both, and they guarantee your satisfaction. I cannot say enough good about this. And you might think it's ridiculous for me to even talk about such a thing. But, folks, look, we all have enough to worry about. We don't want to walk out of the bathroom with pieces of toilet paper stuck on our face, right? Guys, yeah, you know who I'm talking about, right? And Joe's seen me like that as well. So here's what I'd like you to do. Go to harrys.com. That's harrys.com. And Harry's will give you $5 off if you type in my coupon code, our coupon code, CFP Radio, with your first purchase. That's Harry's, HARRYS.com. Enter coupon code CFP Radio at checkout for $5 off. Look, start treating your face right. Start enjoying a wonderful product. Oh, by the way, I didn't tell you this either, Joe. I got in the mail, too, the brand new foaming shave gel, and also the aftershave lotion, this moisturizing lotion. I'm not a guy that uses moisturizing lotion until now. I'm going to tell you something. You remember when you used to put that stuff on, the aftershave stuff, and it sting like you'd be doing the bathroom dance because it stung so much.
The Old Brute and other brands, yeah.
Well, this moisturizing cream is just amazing, and I got to tell you, it made my face feel much different. But again, I spent a lot of time on that because I am a believer in this product, and I want our listeners to take advantage of the special offer. Harry's, HARRYS.com. If you go there, enter the coupon code CFP Radio, and bang, you get an extra $5 off. I spent a lot of time on that because I think it's important to look good, to feel good, and to not rip your face open, and especially now, too, with all the stuff going on. So anyway, there you have it. Brand new sponsors. I want to give them their due. And I'm a believer. I'm a big believer in this. And I use it, and I'm satisfied. What more can I tell you? Up next, Stan Deyo.
Back, ladies and gentlemen, to hour number 2 of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report this Tuesday, October 7th, 2014. And as every Tuesday in the second hour, we are joined by Mr. Stan Deyo. His website is standeyo.com. Stan, it is great to have you back. Hope you had a great week.
Oh, yeah, busy week.
I know we were playing phone tag earlier in the week, and I never get a chance to talk to you. I don't know if you talked to my dad.
No. Sorry about that, Stan. Yeah, it's just been a crazy week. There's so many appointments outside of the office. But yeah, what have you been up to, and what are you focused on lately? I mean, there's just so much.
There is. I take it you're feeling better, by the way, over your virus.
I am. I'm like 100 people now. I'm like twins. I feel so good. I could be twins.
Okay. Well, I've last week I had 3 trips out of town to go up to see the doctor to keep that treatment going. I was telling you about with the twin frequency laser that warms up tissue and supposedly has it makes your cells emit an enzyme that helps cellular restructuring or rebuilding. So I don't know, but anyway, so that took up a chunk of my time traveling up there and back, and Holly went with me. So it bit into the schedule a bit, but we've been doing other things around here, getting ready for winter. And I want to tell you, we tried an experiment this year in a garden. And I know this isn't like world-shaking news or anything, but I'm just telling you something that we managed to do out there as an experiment to grow grass in an area that's pretty dusty and lifeless out in the back because years ago when this house was built, they scraped the surface of the dirt and killed all the plants, all the grass, the wild grass. So Holly cleared an area out the back there so we could control the dirt and dust, hopefully, by planting a natural grass out there, which she did. Put special dirt mix and stuff in there, and put the seeds in there all over the place. And then she did something new, putting a coconut fiber mat over the top of the newly planted seeds in the dirt there. And we anchored it down with some little anchor pins. And that was about 6 weeks ago. And then she watered it religiously twice a day, all the area, every day for the last 6 weeks. We knew the grass was growing under there, and because lumps were forming in little hills and valleys in the coconut fiber mat. It's the kind of stuff they use in the highways up on the side of embankments to make seed grow along the highways there, and put grass in there and keep the ground stable. Anyway, we use this stuff, and we just pulled up the mats today. And boy, talk about wunderbar grass. We've got like 8-9 inches of grass, height under there. And in areas we try to experiment next to it with the same dirt and everything, same seeds, but without the cover. And that grass hardly sprouted at all. But here, under this coconut fiber mat, it just sprouted like crazy. I don't know whether it formed a little greenhouse effect under there or what. I mean, it lets light through and water through, and it just flourished. So, folks, if you're looking for a magic solution to growing grass or other things, that coconut mat, you can buy it online. It's probably about 8 foot wide and, 30, 40, 50 feet long. You cut it up and use it where you want. But interesting experiment that proved to be really marvelous here in the high desert. So that's my freebie on gardening today.
I'm going to try. I need to try that at my home. So coconut matting will, in fact, I mean, these are the little things that tend to make life easier and more successful. So I don't mind passing. I enjoy the advice. So just simple coconut matting.
Yeah. We were just so amazed at the difference. I mean, like almost zero sprouting in the harsh environment outside the mat, but under the mat, and I say mat, it's very lightweight. You can see through it a little bit. It's just fibers of coconut that have been stretched and woven together, and then you burn it when you're through. It's just it degrades in 6 months if you leave it there. But we were, as I say, real impressed with what we saw there.
Fantastic.
The difference. Okay, now, boy, where do you start?
I was hoping you could tell me. Yeah.
Did you guys cover that in the first hour?
No, we didn't at all. And waiting for you to give us your thoughts on this, and so go right ahead.
Well, there's some links on my usual show page there, guys. If you've still got that link, Joe, you can put it up to the guys in the chat room. There's one article here on Ebola that I don't have up on the show images page, and it's about a robot that they developed in Texas for other things in hospital surgeries, in the operating rooms. It's a robot that pulses out a particular brand of light. It's a ultraviolet light, and it zaps bacteria everywhere in the room. You just have the robot go into the room, you turn it on, and the light comes out, this extremely powerful ultraviolet light, and it causes the DNA inside the virus cells to fuse together, and in essence, it kills it. So it can't reproduce, and that's, what you need. It's called the Xenex, Xenex, Xenex robot, and it's made in San Antonio, and a lot of hospitals are already trying it, using it for just sterilizing their operating rooms and things like that, because it kills so many germs, viruses. So they're thinking this might work on Ebola as well. They put the robot in the room, and then they shut the door, get out of the way of the ultraviolet light, because they don't want to have their DNA fused. And it pulses a brilliant, strong burst of ultraviolet 1.5 times each second, and it cleans every surface in the hospital room. I mean, that light just reflects anywhere that light goes. It zaps, and it using that in normal hospitals has cut infections in their patients down by up to 50%. Like 1/2 of them don't get infections now, which if you've noticed in hospitals these days, you go in to get an operation, likely to come out with all kinds of things from people bringing it in, and infections of bacteria or viruses. So this is really a good development. About 250 hospitals in the United States are already using this. They call it the Little Mo, M-O-E. It's developed there in San Antonio, as I said. And so people might be thinking this would be a good investment in areas where you're going to have Ebola patients, here in the United States or wherever. It'd probably be too expensive for home use because it's a super duper thing. But anyway, that's a good news on the Ebola there. Some of the bad news, which I do have on the show page, second row where there's a big eye with bloodshot. I mean, it's just almost blood totally around the pupil. It's the eye photographed of a person with Ebola. And if you go to the link underneath to the news story, you'll see that, excuse me, that they're afraid that Ebola is going to sweep Europe. It's like this is the World Health Authority has already warned that they think it's going to go all the way across Europe. And, of course, we have a lot of activity, plane-wise and travel-wise between the United States and Europe as well. So here's another threat to not only us, but to every country in Europe. Not good news. Anyway, there's a link. You can read the news story. It's on the UK Independent newspaper site. Ebola outbreak, spread of deadly disease across Europe is unavoidable, warns World Health Authority or organization chief. So there's good news and bad news.
You know what, Stan? Let me ask you this question because I've read so many different reasons and responses to this. Why just not fly in and out of the countries, or why not just quarantine the countries, or self-quarantine, or not have flights to and from these countries that are affected in West Africa?
Well, the World Health, not World Health, the CDC later here, director, he said that, well, look, we can't guarantee zero infection rate here in the United States, and by shutting off the travel to these countries back and forth, air travel and whatever, we're still not going to make it zero. And my thought was, well, if it's not zero and it's like a chance of 1 in 10,000 of getting it, if we don't stop the traffic, let's stop the traffic, because 1 in 10,000 on a basis of 300 million people is a lot of sick people, a lot of dead people. I do not understand, as many others don't, what the CDC and the Obama administration, what their excuse is for not quarantining these countries. We don't go there, we don't fly there. You can't come in unless you go into quarantine for 25 days to be sure you're not presenting signs of the disease. I mean, that's only common sense. Saudi Arabia is doing that, for crying out loud. All the jihadists that are in Africa that have to make their annual pilgrimage over there, to Mecca, they can't go if they're from a country that's got Ebola in it. The Saudis have said, no way, you're not coming here. And, of course, now Obama is saying, oh, that's all right. You guys come on over, sneak across our borders. We're not going to stop you. In fact, we'll give you citizenship and medical care. I'm thinking this guy is an enemy of the people here. He's an enemy. He is not our president. And
exactly.
Oh, geez, I tell you what, when I get on that subject about him, I just grit my teeth. I've never seen such an obviously enemy of the state at the helm here. I mean, he really is.
And we had talked in the first hour about, had we been able to stop him initially through the eligibility issue, the constitutional eligibility issue, and I think we had a chance to do so, but too many of the people on the right and conservatives, so-called conservatives, says, no, that's a red herring, or yet, I mean, had we done something and all of us pushed for adequate proof at that time, perhaps we wouldn't be in this position, or maybe we would. It just would be under a different name. I don't know, but clearly, Stan, I think you're correct that everything that this man is doing seems to be pushing a globalist agenda and an anti-American, anti-U.S., anti-sovereign, anti-constitutional agenda.
And he certainly is not trying to defeat the Islamic terrorists over in the Middle East. He's doing everything he can to help them, but looking like he's trying to do the right thing, But look at Kobane over there. I mean, we could have had airstrikes that were 100 times more effective than what he's allowing them to do. Blowing up a truck here or there, but not really hurting what's going on over there. Michael Savage's new book is going to, it's dynamite, I reckon. We forwarded a copy. He reckons that we've got a month left to try to save America from Obama and his ilk. And that month is the month between now and the elections. And people are going to have to swing to, whether you like them or not, the Republican side, because to swing the votes to smaller minor parties that might have better candidates would so split the vote that the Democrats still win. So we have to go for the Republican Party and hopefully get the Senate back in control. If we do not get control of the Senate this time, we're doomed. And in fact, I'm not even sure that will do it, because with Obama's penchant for, writing executive orders and decreeing by executive order, he's not listening to the Congress anyway, or to the Senate. It's just.
I'm glad you brought Michael Savage up in his upcoming book. I'm glad you brought that up, because I happened to see that in an email early this morning about Stop the Coming Civil War, or something to that effect, very close to that title.
Yeah.
The one, and I think there's an article on WorldNet Daily about the book, but my question is, what you said about the elections. We've got a month of the elections. I'm curious about the title, Stopping the Civil War. Absent of having a change in the Senate, let's just say everything remains status quo as it is right now. Or let's say that we'll just leave it at that, status quo. Where is he predicting? And I didn't see this, and of course the book is not out yet. In the hands of the people. Where is he predicting, or what would be the impetus for the Civil War? Is it just everything that we've been talking about, or is there something? Is there a different approach that he's looking at?
Well, not having the book and only listening to him on the radio talking about it, I can't tell you what his book is going to say about that, where it's going to come from. But you and I have talked about this, and Joe, on the show, several times this year at least. With the obvious treasonous behavior of the White House and the people that the advisors to Obama, with their treasonous behavior, it is pushing us to the point that there are going to be groups in the United States who will finally say, we've had enough, and start probably going after the government with arms and rebelling. This threat to our personal safety now, then not only our incomes, which he's been doing with the clobbering of our economy, but we're now faced with a virus that can kill our family and lots of families around us. People's tensions are going to be very high, and it's only going to take a small spark, and people are going to pick up guns and say, that's it, that's far enough, you're not going any further, and start resisting the government. Now, of course, the planners here, I'm sure, are aware that with the arms we've got in America and the attitude we've got about independence, that we would do something like that, and so they're waiting for it. And they may even initialize the spark that sets off the resistance here. And if they do that, then, and we do what we should and resist the government's encroaching power, we are then enemies, and they will of the state, and they will issue martial law and start confiscating guns and people and throwing them into prison and whatever, or shooting them. So that that way they can eliminate the right-wing resistance here in the country. Now, if we don't do anything, I suspect that with Ebola getting loose here, the White House can also say, well, look, we're going to declare martial law so that we can contain the disease. And in the process, of course, that gives them the right, which they've already got anyway, but the public opinion right to come into our homes and search our homes for diseased material or whatever. Oh, by the way, do you have guns? Well, look, we're going to take those while we're here because we don't want you getting sick and hurting somebody while you're sick with all these guns. So one way or the other, I see martial law coming at us, and that is going to lay the basis for a civil war. Now, some of our military guys will defect and join with us on the right side of this conservative side to resist the encroachment of the government. We're now in a position that our forefathers were at the time of the Revolutionary War against England. Taxation without representation. In this case, it's taxation and squandering, and without representation as well.
That's right.
And there are a number of other issues even more dire than what King George was doing at the time. We are like our forefathers, except we don't have a sea, an ocean between us and England. We've got land connecting us to the administration that's trying to absolutely enslave us, if not kill us. I mean, his Muslim leanings at the White House there tell me that he would not be disappointed if the mosques that are all over the United States rose up and started killing Christians and Jews, because that's what the Quran says to do. It wouldn't hurt his feelings at all. In fact, I think he'd encourage it. This man is just pure D evil. Evil. And Muslims are going to suffer, Christians are going to suffer, Jews are going to suffer, and just everyone else that's not religious is going to suffer because of this terrible, terrible man. I cannot believe that he can sleep at night. It amazes me.
But Stan, it's just not him. It's the people around him as well,
yeah,
in his inner circle that we have to worry about too. I mean, Valerie Jarrett, the Carl, the Mrs. Karl Rove of this particular renegade in chief. But this martial law possibility, do you see it coming at? And I've often thought about this, entertained various possibilities. Would this be geographically? Would this start out like, we'll say, okay, we've got somebody in Dallas right now that's sick, and then with Ebola, and now we've got the circle widening, we'll say. So maybe Dallas might be the first city. Do you see it going like city by city and rolling out that way, or do you see it all across the country happening all at once?
It will probably start in one or two cities or states, and then there will be a great hurrah, in those supporting him, and then and those of us that are against all this will be saying, no, that's not right. You're not going any further. And that's when uprisings will occur all over the country in various places in response to one or two cities where he does martial law. Understand, at this point in time, he's so degraded or diminished and degraded our military here that there's not enough of them to go around to do what he wants. National Guard may help a bit, but even they, being close to their own state, will probably resist in order to hurt their fellow people in the state or the city wherever he orders it. We've got all they need is an excuse out there. A lot of the hotheads, and they will run amok with guns and forming gangs and tribes all over the place. You'll have extreme right-wing shoot 'em, kill 'em all. Jews, Christians that are extremists, get rid of them. I mean, they'll do some of Obama's work for them, but they'll be against the blacks. They'll be against the Jews. They will be against Puerto Ricans and Mexicans, the illegals, and of course the Puerto Ricans and the let's see which one. Well, we've got Islam against Christians, because Islam will have to, in this country, will have to hunker down and protect themselves, because there will be angry Christians that may throw bottles and rocks to start with, but get a little bit more serious as things progress. And I'm just trying to think who the natural enemy. It's the black community and the Puerto Ricans and Hispanics. They will be fighting each other. The Hopi told us, Holly and I, this back in '96 when we were down there visiting with them, that there would be a multifaceted, multi-front civil war. It wouldn't be just north or south, that kind of stuff. It'd be rich against poor. It'd be, black against white. It'd be Puerto Rican against black. It'd be illegals against everybody, and right wing against left wing, and so what's going to trigger it, I don't know. But once it starts in one of those arenas, one of those facets, it'll spread to the others. They'll use it as an excuse, like the Watts riots, and just go amok. We're going to see a collapse of the United States from internal civil wars.
Do you feel that The economy's got a big thing. The economy plays heavy into this as well, don't you think? I mean, the collapse of the U.S. dollar. This is part of it as well. I believe that. I'm not sure how it all fits together, but
well, of course it does.
Yeah.
I mean, today the stock market dropped 300 points, I think, before it closed. Not a lot, but it's had a little boost and then it fell down. If we get a week or two of constant dropping like that, then it'll be a real issue. With the banks being threatened at the moment, like they were in Greece, the banks may confiscate a percentage of your deposits, your checks and savings and things like that. They may reduce that by 25-30% to save the bank's liquidity. And you'll find that your dollars disappear right out of your accounts. And they have the right to do that under the charter of the banks.
Yeah, they do. So your savings and checking accounts are actually unsecured assets of the bank that holds them. And now, by loosening the regulations and changing the laws, the banks are able to seize your money that is held in their banks, there is nothing legally that a person can do about it because it is the law now.
I know. So you used to think you could trust your bank, but your bank is potentially a big thief.
But Stan, it's insured by the FDIC.
Oh, well, of course, yes. yes. And do you know how long it would take to get the return from the FDIC if you got it at all? How many years it would take?
Let me guess, 99?
Probably. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, the economy definitely is a major player because that affects everybody's pocketbook. Disease, like Ebola, rampant disease, pandemics, that's another threat to the person's family, that's personal, right? That's a threat. Now, with that's going to hurt the world economy, particularly the U.S. economy. We're interested in local. When you've got disease like that rampant, people are going to want to hunker down in their home and not go shopping at Walmart or wherever else it might be that they might be exposed to Ebola. They're going to stop buying products that have been excessively handled by people that could possibly have Ebola and not know it. They sneeze on the lettuce or whatever. You see what I'm saying? It's going to inhibit trade. Holly and I have already talked about it in our business. When Ebola gets spread, and I talked to our post office about it here too in Colorado. When packages from wherever, Texas, come through the mail or through UPS or FedEx to your house, you got to sterilize them with some solution of 2400 part per million, like Clorox or something, because they've been handled by people that are potentially carriers of the disease. And even though it may be dried, you still need to do that as a protection in case there's someone touched it or sneezed on it that's closer than Texas that's got the disease. So this is going to hurt Amazon.com and eBay and all those people who do a lot of shipping of packages because people are going to be afraid. Today I got a package from UPS with some stuff I'd ordered, a stock for the company, some USB drives, and the package was so filthy that I sprayed with Lysol and everything before I even opened it up. So this is going to impact business, commerce all over the United States and overseas from us as well when people realize how serious and how widespread the disease has become. It may take 4 or 5 weeks for this to hit. Suppose it hits, and is in panic stage by the election. How many people are going to go out and vote?
That's a good point.
Well, look, a lot of people listened on the show last week. I told them about chapter 34 in Holly's book and the Dare to Prepare book, because it tells you in that respect how to deal with viruses. And of course, I'm getting more information on this as we progress. But it kind of alerts you to what you need to watch out for these viral diseases. And there's Marburg disease, there's Ebola, there's hemorrhagic fever. All these are loose in Africa at the moment, and on planes probably here and there, and will eventually spread our way. That nurse over in Spain that caught the Ebola, I think I read here in today's news that the government there are going to euthanize her dog because he might be a carrier of the disease if she sneezed on him or something like that, and they couldn't stop that. They were going to kill their dog. This is you're going to see some extreme behavior when Ebola comes. People are going to panic in a lot of areas. That's why we're suggesting that if you need to hunker down in your home for a while, you need those face masks. If you're going to even talk to someone at the front door, you need gloves. You need sterilizing equipment. You need food, water, medicine in-house. You can't be expecting to go out and get it when you need it because everyone else will be trying to do it, and you'll be exposed to the virus if it gets in your neighborhood. I can't stress enough how much better you are, better off you are, better prepared you are by storing food and water and medicine and equipment that you will need in your home now so that you can stay out of the public as much as possible. If you got to go to work, you need that mask and you'll need gloves, to protect you, and sprays of stuff you can make up to try to kill the germs that get on your hand or your skin in your job. And eventually people are just not going to go to work at all because they'll be afraid if the disease gets loose. And I do put that caveat, if it gets loose. And right now it seems like it's going to.
And I agree with you on that. And folks, Dare to Prepare, Holly Deyo, go to standeyo.com, order Dare to Prepare. I have the book, and I'll tell you, the comprehensiveness of what Holly has put together in terms of how to keep yourself safe from infection is, this is the go-to book, at least my go-to book for all things infectious and how to stay healthy away from this. So I just want to make sure people understand when you reference Dare to Prepare, Chapter 34, it's Dare to the current edition at standeyo.com, and I just can't thank Holly enough for putting that together because that really is, it's much more, folks, than you realize. It gives you a lot of things to think about. It kind of it made me think a lot too. I had to make a quick run out to the grocery store, and I thought, oh man, I'm looking for those wipes that for the handles because you just don't know. You just don't know what. Of course, we talked about this last week. Well, what's on those handles of the grocery store? So,
yeah, there are a number of preventative things that you can do to help yourself if you are exposed or before you're exposed, and that's to get your immune system up to snuff, up to strength, and certainly heavy doses of vitamin C and raw garlic. You chew it, it burns a bit, but that and vitamin C, and using iodine on the skin where you're exposed. It colors you a bit, but with iodine, with garlic, with vitamin C, you can not only boost your immunity but also sterilize your body. There are other things that are not as bad as iodine for discoloring. But we're, as I say, Holly and I are looking at a number of things here ourselves because we're all in the same boat with this. And, of course, the best thing is just don't be exposed, but be ready to hibernate like the bears this winter while the disease is around you and spreading. If you get ready and it doesn't happen, it won't hurt you. You've got the freeze-dried food and other things stored away. You can use that instead of buying groceries. It won't hurt you.
Do you see an uptick in the just from the Dallas case and from those people who have been affected by the Dallas patient? Do you see an uptick? Why haven't we seen by now, for example, more cases in the D.C. area? He landed in D.C. apparently and traveled elsewhere. Why haven't we seen more cases right now? Are we still in that window of contagion, or is there something else?
The fact that the head of the CDC came on and outright told us a lie, or several, about how many people were potentially infected there in Dallas that's me think that it makes me think that the others that occur in the country we're not going to hear about because they want to put a lid on it. In one respect, they don't want to let you know because they're afraid you might panic, and certainly that thought does occur to one when you're thinking this is loose on planes, this is loose on food service or whatever. You start to think, I'm not going to buy, I'm not going to consume, I'm going to pull in my shell around me and hide for a while. Well, if we do that, we know it's going to hurt the economy. And so my advice is good and bad. Protect yourself, but be prepared for the collapse of the economy as people hunker down and pull in the hole behind them. I don't think they're telling us the truth until it's their time, when the outbreak is no longer, we're no longer able to, or they're no longer able to hide it from us, the details of the infections. Then is when they'll say, well, okay, I guess it's time that we start being proactive here, and people will panic then. But in the government's own time, they've got an agenda, I'm sure. And you and I both know this could have been avoided. The administration, last year, took away the CDC's right to prohibit any infected person from coming into the country. With the stroke of a pen, he took down our defense barrier with the CDC, who know what they're doing, or should know anyway. And I don't really blame CDC for saying what they've said, because they're like the USGS. When they're under the thumb of the White House administration, they're afraid, they're blocked. They can't tell everything they want to. Gee,
wow.
What
a
so
mess.
Mad.
It's to me, it's almost like we're seeing in real time events that we had talked about 2-3 years ago coming to pass, or coming into play right now and becoming relevant. And we're seeing this real blast toward, as you stated, martial law ultimately, and I can see this coming in the Civil War, in a multifaceted Civil War. I like the way you put that. I can see this taking place here in the short term, especially, and the timing is curious as well, the fall with the elections and the fall period. So,
yeah.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say, Joe and Doug, the speed at which this is happening, of the current events all over the world, when you relate those to biblical prophecy, in particular what Jesus said, it's like the birth pangs of a woman. They get closer and closer together. The Braxton Hicks contractions start to group up to form the last part where the baby is delivered. Well, we're seeing that acceleration of events happening now all around us, and it's not our imagination. These things are happening so quick, it's astounding. And for me, that means that the good Lord's return is at least for the church, is pretty close.
Interesting how the timing of everything. I just don't think it's a coincidence. And I mean,
no.
Yes.
And getting into the question I was going to ask Stan about the blood moon, have you saw where is the best time and places to watch in the United States?
I don't know what the best is. I know that we're out of luck here. We've got too much cloud cover, so it'll have
Probably
to be somewhere else. I don't know.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the blood moon themselves, the blood moons?
Oh, you mean for the Shemitah and all that?
Yeah, I mean, what's your take on that? Thumbnail sketch on that.
Well, I don't know. It does seem to make sense. I just haven't had the chance or the time to investigate that in greater detail to try to prove it to myself. But I do know that God's timetable does seem to have a relationship to the high feast days of Israel. So the blood moons do occur in concert with that, with the holidays, and you can get caught up in doing date setting and being disappointed by hanging on the moons, because those 4 blood moons, because events have happened in the past, but not on the blood moon's date, maybe around the date thereof. So I'm kind of reserving my support of that 100%. That's all. Don't mean to be, a wet blanket, but I'm
right.
Conservative on that.
It's more like anecdotal evidence, as we would term it, I suppose, than anything direct or obvious, I would say. So, yeah, it's something to watch. It's something to consider, but nothing necessarily in your view. And I think our views are pretty identical with respect to this topic. That, yeah, I mean, I certainly wouldn't want to hang my hat on date setting or, with respect to the blood moons, although it's an interesting phenomenon to consider, though, when you look at it, the bigger picture.
Yeah, listen, I put up a link to something over in the state of Missouri. They've been doing some developmental work, on the surface there, on the ground level of Missouri. Engineers Corps has, and they've been mapping the sinkholes around Missouri. And if you look on that Show Images page, the top image I show you, you can click on it and get a bigger look at it, is off of Google Earth, where I took their KMZ file, which plots all the sinkholes that they've mapped, which doesn't include everyone because some's on private property. And if you look at Springfield and east of there and northeast of there, you'll see that there are hundreds of sinkholes in Missouri. Now, this, on the surface, you might say, well, that's kind of interesting. I guess there's a lot of leaks around Missouri, but we had a phone call a couple years back from a water company down in the southeast corner of Missouri, and they were getting silt and sand into their water supply, their deep wells and things, because of the shifts underneath Missouri. And, of course, that does connect in to, it's on the northwest side of the New Madrid fault line. So when this much activity, this many sinkholes are happening there, and even if you don't say, well, look, I believe Stan's theory about the Earth expanding, even if you don't let that happen, if you just say the Earth is not expanding, that many sinkholes over an area that is connected to the beginning of the New Madrid fault line has to be of concern. There's something wrong if that many sinkholes are occurring. If you look at that map, I mean, your eyes go kind of blank with looking at how many we're looking at there in Missouri alone. And that's just in Missouri. I don't know if any other state has done quite what they have. But I give you a link there, the Missouri sinkholes, and you can go to the actual site there in the state of Missouri and see other data they have. But that's something else we have to consider, as this kind of damage near major fault lines. And Yellowstone is pretty quiet at the moment. I checked it today. I mean, there's little earthquakes here and there, but nothing to say that Yellowstone is going, or the caldera out in California, Long Valley. But we do need to keep an eye open, not only here, but all over the planet. Down in New Zealand, there are 3 volcanoes that have been raised up to alert level 1, and White Island is at the top north side of the North Island, and it's the one when it becomes active, they call it the zipper effect, because it's connected to volcanoes all the way south of there, right down into Wellington, which, it's just it's on the south edge of North Island and just across the bay from, or the strait from the South Island. And Ruapeo, which is the one that's right next to Lake Taupo, that's been raised to a level 1, which, I've flown over it, and it had a sulfuric lake in it at the time. That is kind of another one we're concerned with, which is south of the Trigger volcano at White Island. And west of Ruapeo is one called Tongariro. It's been raised to level 1. So in the North Island, there are 2 on the island, one at the north side, which are raised to level 1. Now, you can go all the way to level 3, which is eruption in progress, but you can still fly in these areas. You still got a green flag, green light to fly. But I am interested that so many of them, are at level 1, exhibiting some, earthquake activity, indicating maybe magma or something like that. Anyway, that's just another one of the things that's happening. And,
All right, Stan, and I just want to say for our listeners, if you've landed on our page on the right-hand side, there's a link to the show images, or just go to standeyo.com, and of course, right under or by the microphone is show images. Click on that, and yeah, I'm astounded by the mapping of those sinkholes. Obviously, there's something going on. And I do subscribe to your Earth expansion thesis. I do believe that the Earth is expanding, and as such, then we're seeing this phenomena. And because you know what, Stan, I was thinking about this too before the show. Your Earth expansion thesis also, if you go back to your Garden of Eden discovery, I mean, it all fits. This is a continuous line of physical, I don't know what you'd describe it as, physical evidence where the Earth has been expanding, and time, for example, way back, during the time of the Garden is different than today. I mean, this all fits together, doesn't it?
It does. I've just today I was doing some more research, getting evidence, together to eventually write a book on the Garden of Eden and what its implications are in, the current world. But I was looking at gold deposits, known gold deposits in Africa, the whole country, and I found this map. Little black dots everywhere, showing some in South Africa, the gold mines there, but they got more diamonds there than do gold. But anyway, gold, and then I found little clusters over in the south, kind of the west of Africa, and some dotted all over the country here and there. But by far, a huge concentration, bigger than anywhere in Africa, is the island of Madagascar. It is absolutely covered with gold sites. Now, when I did the Garden of Eden lecture, I thought that since Solomon's gold mine, his favorite one, Ophir, was there at Madagascar, that was Ophir. But I've now changed my mind. I think that was when it was connected to Africa over at the base of Tanzania, formed part of the land of Havilah, which was known for its gold, they say, because even today it is so filled with gold that it stands out among the entire country of Africa. And I think either King Solomon made a mistake and called Madagascar Ophir when he should have called it Havilah, or he purposely called it Ophir using the meaning of the word Ophir like a wedge, which was between Africa and India and split them apart. It didn't really, but that was the illusion, and that was probably how he kind of had a joke when everybody was trying to find out where his gold mines were, is to call it Ophir. But I think that, anyway, I've corrected that, and little things like that are going on to help us know the correctness, the truth that's in the Bible. Where the tribe of Cush was, where the African tribe of Cush with the C was, and right next to him was Sheba, in Ethiopia and Eritrea, and then as you progress around the coast, the next one was Ophir, which is part of Somalia and Kenya, and then the next one down was Madagascar, which was Havilah, hooked up to the south part of Tanzania. When I look in the internet for the secular articles, learned articles on the original landmass of the world, none of them are allowing for the expansion of the Earth, and they are letting India and the mountain range between India and China and Russia and Iran, all that. They're letting that mountain range just be what was there, and they're not allowing for that catastrophic thing that shrunk India by shrinking it right up into the south side or southwest side of China and forming the Himalaya Mountains. When they don't do that, then their map of what's called Pangea, when all the continents were together, makes it a kind of a tall, maybe slightly flattened C, like a letter C, where China is hanging off up there in space somewhere, in the top part of the globe. But if they allow this expansion theory and the fact that there was a catastrophic event that shrank India, then all the maps need to be pulled down together so that India touches Africa and Madagascar, and China is connected to India. There's not this empty sea in there, with no land in it that they all seem to put in their Pangea maps. And that's because they wouldn't allow for the catastrophic event that so obviously occurred that it shoved India up from its position next to Africa. Anyway, these things frustrate me a bit because you can't get good maps. I'm having to figure out how to make the maps myself to show them where they're wrong and move the continents together in the right way. I'm sure I'll get a lot of flack for it, if they ever take the time to see my argument about it. But even that's a big if these days.
Well, anything that would prove the biblical account of creation certainly would get a lot of pushback, and this is part and parcel to that, I would think.
That other lecture I did was on King Solomon and, how his name is going to be the name of the Antichrist. Solomon will be a Suleiman. The guy I pointed out in my lecture is still alive and well in Syria, and is Abu Suleiman. You'll see this in the DVDs. We're just about finished with the artwork now, then be able to release them in a couple of weeks, it looks like. But in that lecture, I talked about this Abu Suleiman, and just 3 days ago, he went on to his Twitter or Facebook page. I think it's a Twitter site he's got, and gave an update on what's happening there in the U.S. attacks on the ISIS group that he's allegedly allied with. They're both together because they're enemies of the great state in America and the Kurds and that sort of thing. So what he said, though, is rather interesting because this guy Suleiman said, look, we might be fighting with ISIS against the United States over here, next to Turkey, but don't be fooled by this. We still do not support what ISIS stands for as far as an Islamic caliphate or state. And Abu Suleiman represents a group called Al-Nusra, and he's a top official with Al-Nusra, with the Jabhat al-Nusra. Now, what they want to do is form a federation of nations that are Islamic into, like the United States, but it would be United States of Islamic countries in the Middle East. And that way they would still have their own local autonomy, but they would have like a United Nations of those Islamic states. And that's what Abu Suleiman is pushing for. And even though he is fighting against the ISIS group now, he is with him against America for the time being, to win the war against the United States or whatever. So I still have my eye on this guy. He's definitely in the forefront of the unification of the Islamic states there against Israel and the United States. So keep an eye on that name, Abu Suleiman, Sheikh Abu Suleiman. That's his new name now.
Isn't it amazing how, as we look at the events that took place, think back to the Bush administration, and as we changed over to the renegade in chief, this Obama, the Obama regime, the difference. Look at the. To me, to see how quickly all of this has taken place, the uprisings in the Middle East and the changes of power and all of this, to me, tells me that we've got to be seeing something very, I don't even know how to describe it, but certainly divine and evil. There's the I'm not even making sense here, except to say that what we're seeing is a very evil agenda, I think, at play. but under the divine plan under which we exist. You know what I mean? I mean, because who could have imagined this? Even on we'll say September 10th, 2001. Who can imagine where we are today? It just blows my mind to think about it.
I know. I pace the floor sometimes when we're watching the news here. I just I shake my head. We've said it all before, but it's just so real and present, a clear and present danger that's accelerating. And here we sit fiddling while America is about to just come unglued. There's nothing that we can do, it seems like.
No, and we've got these cheerleaders on both sides that are nothing more than, nothing more than cheerleaders for political parties that don't fold in to the equation, the bigger picture that you see and we see and others see. Everything is very superficial, a thin veneer of normalcy out there, and I think a lot of people are going to be taken by surprise, Stan.
Well, when 80% of the people don't even know we've got a problem with Ebola at the moment, there's just not much hope, is there? I mean, I talked to one of the servicemen. I won't say who he was. He's just a technician here to come repair something. There were two of them that came out from a company here. And the older guy, like myself, knew about Ebola. And he and I were talking about it over by his truck. And the younger helper came over. He said, "What's Ebola?" And we both looked at him like, holy cow, where have you been? But apparently 80% of the people are like him.
Well, and I'm sure a large percentage of the 20% don't. They've got this mental disconnect or this normalcy bias. Oh, it's fine. Everything's fine. It can't happen to us. It's not going to happen. If it was something big, everyone would know about it. It would be on, I'm sure that there's this mental disconnect among the 20% that do have a knowledge of it.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
That I was just looking up while we were talking here about the eclipse where it will be visible. And if you don't want to go outside and look at it, you can go onto something called slooh.com. And there are live webcasts on there that NASA and this slooh.com, slooh.com, will have live webcasts beginning at about, 2 a.m. Central Standard Time at NASA and at 3 a.m. Central Standard, at 4 a.m. at Central Standard at Slooh's place. So you can watch it on your computer, on the live webcast, or on your TV if you've got the TV connections to the internet, because there will be a lot of cloud problems. They are saying that the best place would be the northwestern part of the United States, I guess, because the main cloud banks will pass over. But anyway, that answers your question, Joe. I was able to find that.
I appreciate it, and I did find a PDF with a viewing chart showing what times and where it is best to view, and it looks
what
like
did they say on that chart?
Well, it's there'll be a total eclipse visible between Australia and the western United States, and all the way to about the Horn of South Africa, where the Brazil is. That's where it starts. It says there's no eclipse visible all the way in through Europe, covering Africa and Russia and half of Russia. And the eclipse starts to become visible again around maybe Ukraine and India. But yeah, it looks like for the U.S., all of the U.S. will have an opportunity to see a partial, if not the full eclipse.
Even with the cloud cover?
Oh no, I mean that's just this is just a chart showing.
Potentially
a chart from NASA. If you have a clear sky, you will be able to view a partial. They have them broken down from it says U 1 through 4, and I think that's based on some term of visibility. But the eastern part of the United States is between U3, U4. Midwest is between U4 and P4, and then west of that, when that is right around South Dakota down, is all visible, completely visible.
Well, there is a weather front. I can see the clouds on the satellite image here. It's right over Colorado right now, and it will be going over for several hours. Actually, I can see it trailing all the way back over to Nevada. So
we have clouds,
you guys
till tomorrow too. At least it says completely 100% cloud tonight, 60%.
I'm pretty sure you misread that. I think that's through February. Cloud cover through February.
Oh, yeah.
Oh Lord, and of course over here, I'd love to see some of that rain here in the high desert, but yeah. That's life.
Stan, is there anything?
All right, guys. Well,
we didn't cover that you wanted to touch on or mention?
There were just odd little things here and there. I just in scientific developments, you know how we've seen movies like Alien and stuff like that, where they've got these cubicles that you go into and you go into hibernation and make long space trips while you're sleeping, in hibernation. Well, they've actually got these working now. Then the Russians and the United States have both done this. I think the Chinese have as well. And they've been able to put humans into this suspended state of animation for up to 14 days in some cases. Not long enough for a 3-month trip to Mars or something yet, but they're working that way and actually developing what Hollywood had as fiction as a reality. And they just announced that today, how much progress they've made toward hibernating people for longer periods of time, just slowing you down but not actually freezing you. Not totally, anyway. But
that's my dad's dream.
Hibernation. That would be good if I can hibernate, Stan. I'd pick me.
I know. I hear you. There are days that I certainly wish we could do that ourselves. You remember when we were kids, Doug? Joe, this is before your time, but when we had the little crystal radio sets that we could buy, and you could put the cat whisker on it, and you put your radio together.
Yeah, I do.
Now then, they've got kits out for kids. I mean, like when we were young fellas, but kids today, and it's pieces you plug in to make your own computer and your screen and stuff. They build a computer with the little bits and pieces they shove together. It's come a long way since that crystal set, hasn't it?
Wow. I had no idea anything like that existed. Yeah, I'm still trying to put my crystal set together.
I think there's a lot that we can do with the crystal set. That's kind of a crude form of what we've been talking about with Morey's device, to get enough energy out of it to power things. Henry Morey, Dr. Morey, when he was 19 years old, was playing with his crystal set, and a wire hung between the house and the barn out in his dad's farm, and he was finding that he could touch the end of the antenna to his little crystal set and have arcs jump out of it and stuff, and small sparks, but that led him to develop his Morey device, which he eventually filed for a patent on in 1935, I think, somewhere around there, and they wouldn't give it to him. But he was able to draw between 5,000 and 10,000 watts of power continuously for days with an antenna out the house and a super-duper crystal set with Tesla coils in it. And so some of the old technology has really not been developed the way it should for our benefit.
That's interesting. I want to ask you this question because I had a discussion, this is some time ago, and people might think that this is irrelevant to today's topics, but I'm not so sure it is. Length of antenna, in other words, I'll just give you an example. On the cars, certain cars where there are antennas that come out of the car, the stick antennas or whatever you want to call them. Somebody had told me that the length, and tell me if I'm just absolutely out of my mind, but the length of the antennas or the lengths mean things. In other words, if it's 3 feet, it's 3 feet for a reason, or 4 feet. It's not an arbitrary length for an antenna. Is that true?
Well, if you want to have a discrete, unique frequency that you receive communication over or put communication on, like if you transceive over it, yes, the antenna length needs to be Let's see, and that it would be a half wavelength. It's like the length of the radio wave you're doing. If it was 6 foot, then you'd want a 3 foot antenna. The shortwave guys use various types of antenna arrays that you can tune to different frequencies by changing the apparent length of the antenna with parts of your circuit that's down inside your house that you're playing with. You look at your radio. You've got a lot of frequencies in FM and AM band, and your antenna is either a mesh of little metallic dots on your screen on the top of your front window of the car, your windscreen, or it's like in the old days, an antenna that you could raise and lower, change the length of it, which you didn't need to do often, but and it would still, let you hear all the channels. Just some were better than others, depending upon where you were to the transmitter. So yeah, the length of the antenna is an important part. It determines how the antenna will act, whether it will make, if you're broadcasting, whether it will make high voltage come out of the top of the antenna or whether it will make high current, which most shortwave sets use is high current rather than high voltage. But if you were a Tesla fan, you'd know that the top of your coil, which is an antenna in itself, but the coil length of the wire in it that's just coiled around a former instead of being stretched out straight, will be 1/4 the wavelength of the frequency that you want the coil to operate at and to broadcast at. So, yeah, length of the antenna, it's a long way to answer your question, is an important factor in radio communications.
Yeah, actually, you mentioned that. I forgot about the cars where you can actually, lower and raise the antenna at will. The manual. I forgot about that. But yeah, somebody had told me that, and the relevancy, the context in which that I was inquiring about that is well, it's relevant. It was relevant to me at the time. So it's interesting nonetheless. Wow. Okay. Well, what a storehouse of knowledge and information you are, Stan. Thank you so much for spending your time with us tonight. We really appreciate it.
Hey, and thanks for the opportunity to share.
Oh, man. And I, again, just to drive this home, Dare to Prepare, folks, Chapter 34, Dare to Prepare. Dare to Prepare is available on StanDeyo.com. I would urge everyone right now to grab a hold of, order a copy of that book, because I do have a feeling we're going to be needing this sooner rather than later.
Yeah, so do I.
And
so do I.
It is a must-have, yeah. So much information in there that is could save your life at a time where you have nowhere else to get this type of information, and it's very important.
Yeah, and it's you don't want to be trying to get it when you suddenly realize you've got to have it or need it. You need to prepare in advance of the need so that you're not standing in a long line with people that didn't get anything, Anyway.
Exactly. All right. Well,
all right,
brother,
guys.
Thank you.
Let's. I'm going to sign off and go see the good woman upstairs and have a bit of dinner.
Give her my best, our best, that is, and God bless. And we'll be praying for you and
Thank
your
you.
wife.
And likewise.
And you take care.
You guys. See you, Joe. See you, Doug. Night, night.
Good night.
Bye, Stan.
Folks, that was Stan Deyo from StanDeyo.com, our regular Tuesday night guest. And I'll tell you something, a lot of information. To me, sobering information, but delivered very well, very methodically, and in a fashion that we all can understand, and, chunks of information that we can digestible chunks of information, that is. You're listening to a very special Tuesday edition as we just closed out Tuesdays with Stan. It is the 7th day of October 2014. I'm Doug Hagmann. With me is Joe Hagmann. Together we are the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. Your calls next.
Back, ladies and gentlemen, to our third and final hour on this Tuesday, October 7th, 2014. We're going to be taking your phone calls for the rest of the time on air at 661-244-9839. We do have a number of callers on hold, but give us a call at 661-244-9839. Is there anything you want to say or talk about that before we start taking phone calls?
No, I just Zero Hedge had an article, and we can see the I just want to say this: we can see things kind of clamping down. Zero Hedge had an article about civil forfeitures of cash. This is something we have to watch, with people not trusting banks anymore. A lot of people are walking around with, or not walking around with, but possessing large amounts of cash, and via the Liberty Blitzkrieg blog, common people do not carry this much currency. This is how American police justify stealing American citizens' money. It goes into civil forfeiture, civil asset forfeiture, and it is one of the references an article about a town in Texas where it was one of the most popular posts back last year, where this was it's just ridiculous in terms of how the rule of law has been set aside and how we are judged to be guilty. Just like as I opened the show with the Facebook situation, we're judged to be guilty before we're presumed innocent, contrary to constitutional, civil, and criminal law. So I just want to say that this is just an incredible time to be alive, and police are confiscating Americans' hard-earned cash, a wide variety of other assets, including, precious metals that you might have on you, and the police get to keep the seized funds and use the money pretty much on anything they want. This practice is becoming endemic in a lot of areas in this country, and we have to keep an eye on this. Under the color of civil forfeiture or civil asset forfeiture, incredibly, under these laws, your property is, you and your property basically is guilty until you prove it innocent. So think about that. Go to Zero Hedge, and that'll take you to an article on Liberty Blitzkrieg. And I got to tell you, it's disconcerting. I mean, for those who have assets to protect, just think about that. Just consider what's going on and looking at the big picture. Take a step back and put all of these puzzle pieces together, like Stan was talking about. And isn't it interesting, Joe, that Stan talked as he did about martial law a year ago? I don't think we'd have that conversation with Stan.
Yeah. No. I mean, he definitely talks about the spiritual oppression and the tension that's out there. And I think as this continues to go on and increase, I think that people understand that there are things that are going to change in a way we would never want them to. And all the possibilities are on the table right now. And we have to be mentally prepared for just about anything to happen. And having that mental preparedness, that spiritual preparedness, will help in your survival, as you will have your mind and your thoughts together, not like 99% of the people out there who will be running around like chickens with their head cut off, not knowing what to do or where to start. So,
that's right. And I think, and I think that as a country, there will be functionality to the country. It will be a dysfunctionality. I don't look at this as the end of the world, so to speak. I look at this as the end of the way of life that we've been used to. And there's a big difference there, okay? It may be the end of the world for some, but not for all. And those of us listening to this broadcast, if you're listening to this broadcast, you're ahead of the game, I believe anyway, because you've got the knowledge to see the things unfolding, developing, and as things are coming down, you're able to mentally process what's taking place. Others are clueless. So, having said that, those clueless or those in disbelief or even worse, in denial, who refuse to acknowledge. I mean, I've talked to people who have said to me, to my face, we've got the best president ever, and he's making a positive difference for this country.
Yeah. We see people like Debbie Wasserman Schultz and the talking heads on the left. He's, reduced the deficit. He's increased or decreased unemployment numbers. It goes on and on. The borders have never been more secure.
And there are the sad part about this is there are people who actually believe that, and this is an extension. But I will throw into this mix George W. Bush and the administrations before him. This does transcends political parties, because if you look at the continuing course of criminal conduct in each successive administration, and we'll just put a bookmark with George Herbert Walker Bush forward, you can see this continuing course of criminal conduct that transcends politics, and throw into Congresses, the various Congresses as well. Or if you want to go back further to 1913 or whatever, the time is arbitrary.
And it's not that the crime is increased. What is happening is the exposure of those crimes is increasing. The people understanding and knowing what's going on, finding the truth about things. That knowledge, information is what is increasing. The crimes have always and continue to be perpetrated.
And the last thing I'll say too is, I think we're seeing this Fabian socialism that has overtaken the entire the entirety of our nation. And folks, if you really want to understand, this is why I like Paul McGuire's book, Prophecy for the Future of America. He gets into Fabian socialism. I think Glenn Beck had an broadcast on Fabian socialism. But if you understand the mindset of the Fabian socialist, and if once more, it does take the ability to look at the larger picture to fit the puzzle pieces together. If you look at Ukraine as an independent issue, separated from Syria, which is separated from Arab Spring, which is separated from the economy, if you look at all of this as separate affairs, events, you're not seeing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is these are all connected. These are all intertwined, and this is part of the larger agenda to push for a single global leadership, and with that, the economic structure as well as the religious end of things. So all of this is coming to fruition as we see it. Now, this should be exciting, especially if you are a Christian and you understand history, biblical history. You should be joyous about what's about to take place, because we do know who emerges victorious. On the other hand, we also know too that it's going to be a pretty bumpy ride. Now, having said all of that, we still have to prepare. We have to prepare, and then occupy. And by occupy, I mean fight. So that's what I wanted to say, Joe.
All right, well, let's go to the phones, take some calls. We're going to go to area code 251 first, 251. Thanks for calling in. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hey, am I on the air?
Yes, you are.
Oh, my gosh, I wasn't expecting to be first. Thank you for taking my call. This is Robin in Mobile, Alabama. Kind of nervous, never been on the radio. But I listen to you guys every night. I've been listening for about 3 years now. I just want to say thank you so much for everything you guys do. You don't know how much you've helped me to see things in a different way and just really strengthen my faith in God. And I just want to tell you guys thank you so much. And Steve Quayle, wow. He's my favorite. I absolutely love that man. And I often pray that God will give me the passion that he has for Jesus. I'm sorry I'm getting emotional. I just,
no, that's
really
all
love
right.
you guys, but
I
wanted to.
Wow.
I sent an email. I was listening last week, and you were talking about the magazine with Katy Perry on the front. And about a year ago, I discovered I was just flipping through the channels, and it was on a Sunday, and I came across Access Hollywood, a TV show. It's kind of like a tabloid show. Well, I paused it, and on the cover, I thought it was Beyonce, and it was the cover of Font magazine. and it was just it was an odd cover, and knowing who she is, I thought, okay, something has got to be here. So I looked at it, and wow, I can't find the episode on YouTube, but you can get online and look at the cover. It's the cover of Flaunt magazine for Beyonce in 2013. I believe it was June or July. But she's dressed in, well, she's really not dressed. She's in this body paint. It's like a glitter gold body paint, and behind her, that looks like it's peeking around her. I swear it's the face of a demon, and it's kind of peeking around her, and she's naked in this cover, but she's covered in the body paint, and it's so strange, her left arm is wrapped around her backside, and you can just see her hand kind of around her bottom. Now, on the magazine cover, it shows, I believe, 4 fingers, but on this Access Hollywood episode, there were 6 fingers, clearly, on this hand, and
6?
it was so obvious. 6
Wow.
fingers on the hand. And also, I don't know if y'all are on the internet right now, but you can find it really easy. Just do a search for the Beyonce Flaunt magazine cover, and it'll come up, and you can see it really well. But on this Access Hollywood TV show, it was so obvious and just in your face. All I could think, it was a demon peeking around her, and then the fingers, the 6 fingers, and it was very obvious. And I didn't know if you guys had caught that or what you thought about it.
No. Now, which magazine? Tell me again which magazine cover that was.
Okay, it's Flaunt. It's FLAUNT, Flaunt magazine.
Okay, flaunt, like I'm going to flaunt my stuff, right?
Yeah. Yes. And then you can just punch in Beyonce glitter body paint, and it should come right up.
Wow. Okay.
And there's several shots of her, but the cover itself, you can really see it well, but on the Access Hollywood TV show, it was, I'm going to say 5 times more focused, and you could just really see it. And on the magazine cover you can view online, it's just like her thumb and then 3 fingers. But on the Access Hollywood TV show, there were clearly 6 fingers. And I cannot find on YouTube that episode. I just can't get it to come up. But it was pretty interesting, I thought. Are you looking at it now, or?
I'm sorry, I was muted. This is great. I do this all the time. But I'm looking at the cover now, and so it's like a body glitter type paint, gold hued, yeah. And then with her would be her left arm wrapped around her backside, 3 fingers visible, yeah. Thumb, and there's just something weird about that whole.
Yes,
thing,
exactly. And the above her, let's see, I'm trying to think from memory, on the upper left, if you look really close and focus on it, there's a face of something there.
In like a white clouded.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I can see that. I can't really distinguish a face, but okay, I can. It's certainly out of.
Keep looking at it, and you will. Just
Well, you know what?
You will.
I do, actually.
It is very much there. If you really look at it, you'll just say, "Oh my gosh, there it is." And
wow.
You can see like the teeth and the nostrils. But on the television show, it was way more in focus.
Okay, we're going to try to find Access Hollywood's clip of this if we can. Wow.
Please do, because I have searched and I didn't. I have the DVR recorder, and I wish I would. Something told me to record it, and I didn't. I wish I would have.
Yeah.
But, and on there were 6 fingers. On here, there's not. And if you really look close at her fingers, something still looks off. Because on the TV show, it was placed either between her thumb and her finger, or her forefinger, or her middle and her forefinger. But even on the picture on the magazine cover, it just looks a little strange. But it was, they just laid that sixth finger right on top, and it was like, how more obvious can they be? It was very strange.
Well, Robin, what kind? And Robin, I mean, so you seem to be the kind of person that notices these things even before we brought up the magazine cover that we discussed last week. So, what do you think? What's happening here in your view, based on your life experience? What are we seeing?
I believe this is them just. It may be them just communicating to one another. I believe, like God gives, He gives us eyes to see and ears to hear, and I believe that if you're drawn close to Him, and that if you're paying attention, if your heart's right, and you're wanting to know, I think He allows you to see these things. And I think that, one time someone told me, you only hear what God allows you to hear, and you only see what God allows you to see. And you can kind of take that to be a safety net in a way, because, you can see things and it frightens you, but then you think, okay, God, you're allowing me to see this. You're allowing me to hear this. Show me what it is you want me to see. And I just believe that they're doing this right in front of our face, and I think there's many avenues you can take with it. You know what I mean? But I think mainly, God is allowing us to see these things, and what we do about it or what we do with it is our choice. And I think we have to seek Him to know what to do, and He wants us.
I agree. That's the important part. The how your heart is. You have to have a heart that is willing, and the only motive,
and a heart that just wants Him to do whatever it is He wants to do in you. I always pray, I'm like, God,
exactly.
I don't want to do anything more than what you want me to do, and I don't want to do any less than what you want me to do. I only want to do what you want me to do, or see or be. And it's a daily seeking and a daily, it's a daily thing.
It is. Wow, Robin. God bless you for your call. Thank you so much. And
God bless you guys. Y'all are awesome. Y'all are so awesome. I pray for you guys, and Steve Quayle. Oh my gosh, he is wonderful. I love that man.
Isn't he great?
He is the best. I get so excited when I hear him. I tell my mom all the time, just listen to his passion for God. I love how it just spews out of him, and I love it. And the little mess ups, like you guys say, that, oh, this isn't a professional show, when things mess up, that's what makes the show so good to me, because it's real and it's not scripted and it's not perfect. That's the good stuff. So don't get discouraged about those things. That's what makes it so good to me.
Then we're Nobel Prize material then for broadcasting. I gotta tell you.
I don't think I would want a Nobel Prize.
No, I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. Oh my goodness, no. I mean, we have our share, and we like. Here's the thing: we can never take ourselves too seriously, because that's what gets people in trouble. We laugh at ourselves for doing things. But thank you so much for understanding and being part of our extended family of listeners, and we just think so much of everyone who listens. And by the way, since you mentioned Steve Quayle, he's going to be on Coast to Coast on Wednesday night for 2 hours. So I just want to make that announcement. Yeah, Coast to Coast for 2 hours on Wednesday. So for
good. And I listen to John Wells all the time too, Kieran to Midnight. He's awesome.
Oh, he's a great guy. Yeah, he's a fantastic man. All right. Well, thank you so much for your call. And I'm going to be looking. In fact, I'm going to send this to Nathan Leal, this Beyonce or Beyonce, however you pronounce it, this Flaunt magazine cover, because I want him to take a look at this as well.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
Okay. Thanks for
And
pointing
thank
this
you
out.
guys so much, and I'll go so other callers can call. But I love you guys, and God bless you.
God bless you as well. Thank you so much for the call.
We love you too. Have a good night. All right, great call. We're going to go next.
Yep, go ahead. I'm sorry. I just want to say, we were traveling. Folks, literally, we got into the studio maybe 2 minutes before airtime, and we were traveling together. Joe and I were, and it's never a good thing when you're rushing to get into the studio. But right before, 2 minutes before air, and we were talking about that very same thing about seeing things and being able to see things like Robin was talking about, right? So anyway, go ahead, Joe. Sorry.
We're going to go to 413. 413, you're up next. You're live on the Hagmann Hagmann Report.
Hi, am I 413?
Yes, you are.
Whoa. Crazy. It's probably a number you don't see show up that much, huh?
No. Where might 413 be?
Western Massachusetts. Like, liberal home of everyone.
We don't. No one in Massachusetts listens to us. I'm just kidding.
Here. I'm not sure. No. So, Joe, Doug, this is exciting. Also, notice I said Joe first, just to change things up.
Well, it's okay. None taken.
So, I have 3 kids. And, this seems to be a place to call in and say, hey, I noticed some kind of satanic message somewhere. I watch a lot of movies with my kids, and I noticed a couple recent movies, kids movies that have come out, that just, they kind of portray Satan's overall game plan in a way that kids can digest and cheer for Satan. And, of course, at the end of the movie, they show Satan achieving his goals. I just thought I'd mention it. I don't know if there's really enough time to explain how I came to those conclusions. So I don't know if it's...
Well, give it a try. Look, you're from Western Massachusetts. We like Western Massachusetts. Give it a try. Explain... for example, what movies and what specifically did you see that made you default or assert, come to that conclusion?
Let me preface this by saying it would probably make a lot more sense if you guys or whoever in the listening audience has seen the movies, because I'll talk about it. And if you haven't seen the movie, then you're just sitting there going, oh, okay, yeah, sure, that happened. And I'm not sure if either of you would care to admit having seen kids' movies.
Oh, sure. Of course, the last kids' movie I saw, I think, was probably in 1992 or 93, but,
Yeah, wow. Having kids is a good excuse for doing that. There's some terrible kids' movies that just, I cannot sit through. The kids all have Barbie movies, and just, they enjoy them, but I can't stomach that. It's just so lame. But, they do make some good kids' movies. They really do. One of the recent movies should be, I think, fairly obvious in a lot of ways. And actually you can pick up, whoa, there's something going on here just by watching the trailer. So if you've seen the trailers for the recent movie Maleficent, you may have picked up on that.
What was that?
Yeah, please say that again.
Maleficent. Movie Maleficent. The remake of the Sleeping Beauty from, the 1940s or whatever.
Okay. All right.
Wow. And, what's her... Some famous actress, and any guy at the gym would shoot me for not knowing her name. Dang. Anyway, just from watching the trailer... let's have a brief history lesson as I understand it first. Sometime in the future, and when they're flying around like Star Trek, they're going to look back at today and say, wow, look at those idiots back then that none of them could fly a hovercraft. Wow, they must have been so stupid. Okay, well, today, of course, we're sitting around going, well, yeah, of course we don't know how to fly hovercrafts. We don't have any. It's a technology that, like 5 people might have access to. It's not important for us to know how to do that. Back in Middle Ages, whatnot, people couldn't read, and just books were expensive. Nobody had books. It wasn't important. Well, how did you tell Bible stories and stuff then? They would do it through pictures. And, that's where we get the halos from. You have the beautiful glass picture, all the angels and Jesus and Mary and Joseph. They all have these halos. That's, that's the visual representation of
holiness.
Holy.
Right.
And then in Bible stories, a lot of times angels show up. Well, if you read the Bible, there are 2 men waiting at the tomb, and you're like, okay, great, 2 guys. Well, we know that they were angels. How does an artist depict that? Well, and what do angels do? They flit back and forth between heaven and earth, and they deliver messages and stuff. How do you flit to the heavens? Well, you give them wings. Okay, angels have wings. And that's where, I'm sure that there's, some art doctorate person out there who's exploding right now. Oh, no, you're screwing up art history so bad. Yeah, sorry, this is my understanding.
Mark Flynn, in his book, The Forbidden Secrets of the Labyrinth, talks about this in kind of in a glancing way, but nonetheless, he does talk on a very scholarly level about this. Yes, you're correct in what you're saying. Yes, go ahead.
And you just ruined my imagery of making some art professor explode. Thanks.
Well, no, I'm sure there's still some out there.
That's funny. Okay, so how do you portray demons, fallen angels? Well, they're fallen, right? They've had their wings clipped. How do we do that? Well, we'll draw on their backs, like where the wings should be, a scar. So you watch the trailer for Maleficent, the movie, and you know this. She talks about having her wings literally clipped. This character, Maleficent. She's a supernatural being who's had her wings clipped. She's not only a supernatural being, she's the most powerful of the supernatural beings. The movie takes place in 2 separate realms. One, that we'll call the supernatural realm. It's where Maleficent lives. It's full of fairies and weird little creatures and, magical things. And then there's the human world that's ruled by a king. The king that clips Maleficent's wings, which is symbolic of fallen angel-ness, we'll say. And the movie takes place, I hope I'm not, spoiling anything for anyone who really wanted to see it, but the movie takes place during which time she, befriends the princess, who I think for the purpose of this discussion represents humanity in general. This fallen angelic creature befriends humanity, and is earlier in the movie is betrayed by the king, because obviously that's not what happened. Satan turned his back on God, but in Satan's mind, from my understanding, from listening to you guys, thank you for warping my nice, peaceable sense of the world.
Wait, no thanks necessary. We like to shatter paradigms whenever possible.
Rattle some cages, yeah, you're good at that. So anyways, yeah, and that's actually probably you guys and your guests and such that have caused me to, a friend of mine said, open my spiritual eyes and pay attention to stuff like this. Anyways, so this Maleficent/Satan figure, fights against the king of humanity. The girl, the princess, humanity, decides to turn against the king, yay, hurrah, and steals from the king Maleficent's wings back, and gives them to Maleficent, and now she's got her wings back and she can fly again.
Yeah.
Very last scene of the movie, we see Maleficent. What is she doing? She's soaring. Soaring where? Above the clouds of the heaven, Like, how symbolic is that?
Well, yeah, this is what Satan and these Luciferians believe that Satan is doing through this agenda, is restoring, bringing an end to the world to restore their rightful place in heaven where they belong. And that's where they believe that they're going to be.
Exactly. So good. I'm not the only crazy one.
No. You got two more sitting right here.
Oh, excellent. There's three of us. So yeah, that was, in my mind, that's Satan's plan for conquering God in Gerber form.
I like that, in Gerber form. I like that. And so, caller, what you're saying is essentially, if I'm reading this correctly, and we're kind of getting close to, we only have several minutes left of the show, but if I'm listening to you correctly, Hollywood is using our youth to telegraph a counterfeit version of the biblical, of the King James version of the Bible.
Well, frankly, we already knew that. I mean, it's like the previous caller was talking about, like, messages through Beyonce dressed in glitter. Katy Perry's, whatever she just did, they're sending messages. It's just, let's be aware that they're sending messages to, like, little kids, too.
Correct.
I think.
Well, and that goes back to the Wizard of Oz, and we can go back in time, and Paul McGuire talks about, I believe, the Wizard of Oz and other such movies where the target audience is. By the way, I don't think you spoiled any spoilers for our audience tonight with your recanting of the plot synopsis
anyone
here.
Would admit it. Like, I watched it. Geez.
But I think people, the message you're conveying here, and I think everyone should listen to what you're saying, because I think the message you're conveying as well is parents understand what you're subjecting your children to in the form of these movies, these videos, and what messages are being conveyed.
Well, yes and no. Actually, I was thinking about that myself. I caught this message watching this movie, and I was like, oh my gosh, And actually, the one I watched previous to that, but there's not enough time to get into it. And I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? Well, like, just ban my kids from experiencing anything? They're going to be jealous. They're going to go to school and like, oh, my friends were talking about this movie, and how come we can't see it? And you know what? I thought maybe the better plan, I don't know if this is or not, but my plan was watch the movies with them, be aware of what's going on in TV shows. Actually, we don't have TV here, but, be aware of what's going on. Don't let them, like, listen to Katy Perry, because that's going to be trouble. But, like this movie, I watched the movie with them. We had a discussion afterwards, and I maybe ruined it for them, but that's okay, too, because, like, look, see, this is Satan's plan. This is what he wants. And we talked about it, and they may have been disappointed. Oh, wait, you mean the hero was the bad guy? Yeah, well, and on that count, it's like, I notice these things, point it out to my kids. Maybe they'll be be able to pay attention to stuff like this like me.
Very good, and I think if your children have the intellectual capacity, age-wise, if they're of the age where they can understand what you're telling them, I think it's probably good to say, okay, this is what's really taking place here. This is what they want you to think is happening, whereas you can say, no, this is what is actually happening here, and it's a judgment call. To me, it's a judgment call on the part of the parents.
Yeah, well, you should be aware that I think what I observed, it does look like they're programming your kids to be like, oh, the poor misunderstood bad guy's really the good guy. Give them a couple years to grow, and they start learning about Satan, and then like, oh, well, maybe Satan's just the misunderstood bad guy. He really does care about us.
Yeah, that's where they call him the scapegoat. And with that, caller, we're going to have to let you go as we are up against the end of the show. But thank you for your call and insight. We appreciate it. You have a great night now.
Yeah, thanks. You too, guys. Good work. Keep
All
it up.
Thanks, and keep Western Massachusetts an anchor for us. We like that. Wow, Western Massachusetts. I can't believe we, seriously, we do have listeners in Massachusetts, and we do get emails from listeners in Massachusetts, and we thank you for listening. Folks, tomorrow night, Paul Begley from...
Tomorrow afternoon.
Oh, yes, that's correct.
We will be on Pastor Paul Begley's show from 1 to 3 p.m., paulbegley.com, I believe is his website. He has a show on Blog Talk Radio here called The Coming Apocalypse for those who has
Paul Begley
Prophecy. Yeah. And he has a show, The Coming Apocalypse, on Blog Talk Radio for those of you who are not familiar. 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Time, we will be on with Pastor Paul, and then he will be joining us on our show here tomorrow night. Thursday, we have Paul McGuire, and he'll be coming on to talk about current events, Bible prophecy, and a new book and DVD release he has coming for December. I think it's called Mass Event. You can check tomorrow's show description and his website for the links and information to pre-order his book for December that comes out December 2014. And then Friday, Josh Tolley's coming on. He is a radio show host on GCN, and he's been a guest on our show. We've been on his show, but he's coming back on. And
he's going to make an announcement of some kind, I believe, on Friday as well. I'm just from what you told me, Joe.
Yes, he is. Yeah, he has some events coming up that he wants to offer the information to our listeners if anybody's interested in what he does. And then Saturday, we're going to have Sheila is going to have Pastor David Langford on for the first 90 minutes of the show. It's a part 2 to last Saturday's show, the other side of the debate, and followed that by Pastor Langford for 90 minutes. Will be an interview with G. Edward Griffin, a prolific author, researcher, investigator, and a person who is a hero when it comes to exposing the agenda of the Luciferians for 50-plus years now.
Absolutely. And guys, I'm very serious, and ladies and gentlemen, very serious. We're proud to represent in this broadcast, Harrys.com, very proud. If you shave, guys, I'm going to tell you what, Harrys.com is the place to get your shaving equipment. And let me just say this: I don't like to shave, and it's never a pleasure for me until it hasn't been a pleasure for me until I was introduced to Harry's, and that's not an overstatement. That is a fact, and I hope to have a long and growing relationship with them. Harrys.com, and of course you can just put in coupon code CFP Radio. Until tomorrow, God bless. Stay safe.